I keep saying learn to trade. That is your girl Adara. I am Sharif. And yes, we're going to wait as per usual for everybody to head on over from the other stream and start populating the chat before we do our little roll call. I want that roll call animation that the Katina man has. There we go. We got Mateus Lane, Superheart, Juan Padilla, Big Rich Naples. We got the Rock. Okay. Trader Forever. We got Jamal, Chelsea, Ashley, Nima, Juan. We got Patrick Langwa. Oh, there we go. Thank you. The Chilean Nightmare and Ram on the ones and twos today. It's actually just Ram right now. Up Candle, best name in the chat. We got Dad Trader, Futures Traders Extraordinaire, Adara. And we got Mr. Weed, who was highly active in the chat yesterday. Quite controversial. I like him, though. So shout out to Mr. Weed and Lolo as well. How are you?
I am good.
I feel like I caught you off guard.
Yeah, no, I don't think I thought about how I was until then. Yeah, no, I mean, I thank you for asking. It's very nice. I am all right. I am just looking for kind of opportunities. I'm very perplexed by Disney, as one often is.
Did you see Nelson Peltz go off yesterday?
Oh yeah, he said that he and this other guy are going to be Batman and Robin to Disney, which is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Like I saw it on my favorite social media platform, as you know, is TikTok. Yeah, and I followed the CNBS page. Yes, Ram. CNBC page there, and they had like little snippets from his interview yesterday with David Faber. Hell of an interview. David Faber is a good reporter. Shout out to him. He did the Elon. Remember, he did the Elon interview back in May at the Gigafactory. I think David Faber's pretty good. And I'm not a big fan of CNBS, but you know, when there's someone good, you give them credit. Adara, we're going to talk about breakout trading today. We're going to go into a little bit more details of it. But I wanted to, before we go on and talk about breakout trading, I've been talking a lot about these buyout trades. I've given many examples of buyout trades, but I didn't actually have a live and living color example to give you. Today I do. It goes by the ticker of KAMN. And the only reason I want to show it to you is to describe exactly what to look for. Look at this. You get a monster pop. Let me show you the 1 minute chart on KAMN. This is what it looks like, guys. You get a huge pop on one 1 minute candle, and then look what it does the entire rest of the time. It moves sideways. It looks like it's not moving, but as we zoom in, you will see that it is moving. And the idea behind these breakout trades is to get in either long on the bid or short on the ask and take, just a couple of pennies with a lot of size. Now watch as I zoom in, you'll see that it is actually doing something, okay? And the price that it jumps into, like look at this, yesterday's closing print, let me just find out real quick, on KAMN was $22.20. It shot up to 45 and change. Well, why did it do that? Well, that has something to do with the buyout price. And so when we click this bad boy over here, we'll get the details. Edwidge Therapies announces pricing of $240 million of unwritten offer, and then you can basically look and see how much premium they're offering, a price premium of $11 per share. So this one's trading at a premium above what the buyout price would be. It would be 22 and change plus 11 bucks, but it's trading at 45 and change, right? So it's trading at a premium anyway. We're not going to belabor this point, but I want to give you an idea of what what are they called? A buyout trade looks like, and this is kind of the chart that we're looking at here. Forgive the what's it called? The moving averages there that are distorting. The other thing I want to show you, I'm in the future. I'm long 17.10 on the future, two beak wetters. First, the one here at 17.25, the other one 17.35. I've got another beak wetter set up here at 17.245. So looking for higher highs and higher lows on the futures. It'll show up on the position board once I take a fill, but looking for us to hold 17.2 and possibly run it a little bit higher here on the futures, as well as obviously keeping my eye on the Mag 7, Apple 190, etc. You guys know the whole drill right now. Okay, so the futures pumping, and it looks like I may be close to getting a print here. If it can cross 45, and it just comes right into 45. And there we go. We get that print on the future, about 35 points in the money on this bad boy. Let this one run. I've got 2 more outs, and then we're going to see what happens there, Adara. But let's start the lesson.
Also, sorry, just quickly, NVIDIA just broke. NVIDIA is breaking like crazy. I just want to say this. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Of course.
So we had a really hard time breaking that 580.50 area, 580.80. We broke it pretty decisively. I did try to get involved in this just as a side note, but alas, I was a little bit too late to go. Now we hit that 582.
Yeah,
oh, sorry, I was confused. Yeah, so I mean, I think levels on NVIDIA are of interest here. Obviously, that 580.50, 581. Then I think that 582 area is of interest. We broke above that. Obviously, the next level then is going to be that pre-market high of that 583-esque. It says here on my P-Pro 8, 583.38. So yeah, definitely, like what I've noticed here too, just watching the book, is we're having a really hard time decisively breaking above that 582.50. So we'll get there, we'll fall back down. Like I said, I'm just keeping an eye for a little, whatever the opposite of beak wetter is, times to get my foot into the door so I can place beak wetters. Probably this like I said, 580.50, 582, and then I want to just see what we do at 583.
Right, man.
But yes, that is my little NVIDIA update. And we will see if we'll be in or out NVIDIA as the day goes on.
I love it. Sorry, I just had to get you to do that as I put in the topics for today's lesson. Ram keeping me honest. She's like, yo, where are the topics at, bruh? And so I had to get those done real quick. Let's start with the lesson. Very straightforward. We're talking about breakout trading. We're going to talk about setting up a plan, where to look, what kind of candidates are good for breakouts, where to have your entry, your stop loss, etc. So let's go right into that as we start here. So breakout trading, super simple. It's used by active traders every day, basically to get in on a trend at the early stages. This strategy can be a starting point for major market moves. So breakout trades, like look at the NVIDIA 500, Meta 300, Apple hopefully 200 soon. These are breakout trades, and we'll get into the anatomy of those in a second. So what is a breakout? A breakout is a stock price moving outside a defined support or resistance level with increased volume. Underline that, increased volume. A breakout trader enters a long position after a stock breaks above resistance, or enters a short position after the stock breaks below support. Sometimes that's called a breakdown trade, but we're just going to call them breakouts. It's not break up and break down. We'll just call them breakouts, whether they're north or south. Once the stock trades beyond the price barrier, volatility tends to increase, and the price usually trends in the breakout's direction. So if we're talking about an upward breakout, it tends to move higher. So how do you find good candidates? There's a whole bunch of stocks. There's umpteen amount of stocks. How do you find good candidates for breakouts? When trading breakouts, it is important to consider the underlying stock support and resistance levels. This is very important here, guys. The more times a stock price has touched these areas, whether support or resistance, the more valid these levels are and the more important they become. So look at NVIDIA. How many times have we talked about that NVIDIA 500? Neil was talking about it this morning when he was juxtaposing it to Apple, right? How many times did NVIDIA come to 500, reject off 500, and then make its way back up, putting higher lows? That's what we're looking for. And then absolutely 500 became that key breakout level because it hasn't looked back, and now we're talking about 600. So the more times support or resistance is touched, the more valid it becomes. So that's what you're looking for right away. You want to look at a stock that, I don't want to say is ranging, but is trending, but with a flat top that can't seem to get through that top. And as I talk about this, look at the futures go. We're going to have to wet our beak here at 55, Zadara. Futures absolutely pumping to the high side, 17,250. Just broke. Let's see if we can continue north on this future move. Let's go ahead and put the other beak wetter. Oh, I only have one more beak wetter. No, I'm not taking it out.
The beak will not get wet. The beak will stay dry for now.
Right?
Yeah.
So what you're looking for is, sorry, I digressed there. I got excited. What you're looking for is a stock with an upward trend in terms of a long breakout that's touched a key resistance level multiple times, right? And that makes for a more decisive breakout level, okay? As prices consolidate, various price patterns will also occur on the price chart. So not only are you looking for a key resistance level, but you also want to look for possibly some patterns that are developing, like, for example, the ascending wedge, right? Where we have a key higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, all with a flat top. So you want to be able to discern whether there is a chart pattern in play and whether or not, that will help the breakout if it does materialize, right? Aside from patterns, consistency and the length of time of the stock price has adhered to its support or resistance levels are important factors to consider when finding a good candidate to trade. So let's talk about entry points, okay? So how do we get in? We know now what to look for. Wow, man, these futures, okay, I gotta digress. Guys, the futures is pumping here. We're about to go 0.9% here on the NQ. We could get a 17.3 touch today by the looks of it right now. We've blown through 50. Now we're knocking on the door of 60. Where do we ring the profit bell? I mean, I really don't know at this point because this is a blue sky setup on the NQ, okay? I don't think we have any higher highs than this. Let me just double check that here. You can come back. Let's go to indexes. Let's look at the NDX. This is not the futures contract. This is the index. 1 second. We are at all-time highs and have been, looks like, for a few days here on the NDX. So there is no charting to be done. It's a blue sky setup. Blue sky setup meaning that there is nothing above this level that we've been at on the NASDAQ ever. So we don't have any key resistance levels to chart. What we do have is psychological resistance, typically at the 100-point levels. I'm just going to go, that's the way I see things, right? So we'll see if we can get up into 17.3 on the day, but it is a blue sky setup right now. Price discovery, T-Money, absolutely. Another way to say blue sky setup. This is price discovery. So shout out to you for using that synonym. I like it. Anyway, I'm going to leave this position, and then, if it comes back into my entry, it comes back into my entry, but I definitely want to see if we can get a 17.3 touch. So entry points. Entry points are a fairly black and white decision when it comes to establishing positions on a breakout. Once prices are set to close above a resistance level, a trader will establish a bullish position. When the prices are set to close below a support level, a trader will establish a bearish position. To determine the difference between a breakout and a fake out, however, and though that's something that's often times asked in the chat, how do you determine the difference between, breaking a level on a perfunctory basis or just on an intraday basis and then taking it back down, which would account for a fake out? Wait for confirmation. For example, fakeouts often occur when the price opens above a support or resistance level or below a resistance level. It doesn't necessarily make its way there through intraday. So you saw what Neil said this morning about 190 on Apple. You got 190 on Apple in the pre, right? So keep your eye out on that. Even though 190 is not a key level, it's more the 200 level that we're looking at. But typically, if video was, I don't know. When did NVIDIA break 500? Did it break it in the pre-market or did it break it intraday?
I believe it broke intraday. I think it broke right at open.
Right at the open. Right at the open. So it broke it right at the open. That's good because we know that that wasn't a fake out because it's run up 80 some odd dollars since then. So what you're looking for here, fake outs occur when prices open beyond a support or below a resistance level, but by the end of the day, they wind up moving back within the prior trading range, okay? So that's one way to spot the difference between a fake out and a legitimate breakout. Many traders will look for also above average volume as confirmation to wait for or wait for towards the close of a trading period to determine whether prices will sustain the levels they've broken out of. Okay, so that's one nice way you can kind of try to employ to determine whether something is a breakout or a fake out. Look for the corresponding volume, above average volume. That will require you to look at the previous volume bars to see whether we are above average or not. You can do an RVol, you can do a comparison to average volume, look at it maybe in a 3-month picture, a 6-month picture, a 1-year picture for volume, make your comparisons, but do your homework ahead of time. The other way is to, if the stock opens above that key resistance level, you should be on the lookout for a possible fake out. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it is something to keep in mind. All right, now planning your exits, Adira. Very important, because if you don't plan any exits, you don't ring the profit bell, and what the hell is the point of what we're doing, right? So planning exits. Predetermined exits are an essential ingredient to a successful breakout trading approach. When trading breakouts, there are 2 exit plans that you have to arrange prior to establishing your position. The first one is where to exit with a profit. Now this is tough, especially in a blue sky setup. You don't have key or price discovery, as my man there in the chat was saying. You don't have a key level, a key resistance level off which to work. So you're gonna have to do it one of a couple of things. One, you can take a look at what the average trading range for that particular instrument was in the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever you want, okay? You have to determine what the length of time you're gonna look at the range. The other thing is, if it was a channel, say it was a channel, a sideways consolidation before a breakout, what you can do is you can look at the price range of that channel and then project it up. Remember when we were talking about heads and shoulders and how to project the head and shoulder down? The bull flag, when you look at the bull flag breakout, the way to take your profit is to project the length of that of the bull flag on the breakout. So multiple ways for you to do that. So let's just talk about it in detail here. When planning target prices, look at the stock's recent behavior to determine a reasonable objective. When trading price patterns, for example, it's easy to use the recent price action to establish a price target. For example, if the range of a recent price channel or price pattern is, say, 6 points on the futures, that amount should be used as a target price once the stock breaks out from that level. So if we were kind of consolidating, let's just say below 17.3 for, I don't know, a couple of days, and then finally we get a 17.3 breakout, you may want to see what the range of that channel was, if there was a channel below 17.3, and then project that upward, and that could be your profit target, okay? Another idea is to calculate the recent price swings and average them out to get a relative price target. That's another way of doing it. So a couple of ways there that you can set up a possible price target. You had a question.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so I guess what recent price swings, would that be, I guess if you're intraday trading, that would be like intraday price swings? Like would you do that over like that, I guess like the last couple hours then, or a couple minutes? Like I guess how are you determining?
Intraday price, no. So what you want to do is you want to look at what it's been doing the last little bit.
Okay.
So not just on today. You want to see what it, okay. So when we have that $500 top on NVIDIA, that was an intraday. That happened in midsummer. It happened again in the fall and then again in the winter. So we had so many different touches at that particular level. We knew it was coming. So what we could do is we could basically look at what NVIDIA had been doing, say in terms of range for the past week, 2 weeks.
Oh, I see, okay.
And then take whatever the range, the intraday range was, project that forward and put our beak wetter there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I was like overthinking it there, okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, it's all new to me too. So this is the summation of what we just said. Another idea is to calculate recent price swings, and average them out to get a relative price target. If the stock has made an average price swing of, say, $4, I'm just giving you an idea, over the past few days, this would be a reasonable objective. So that's the first thing, where to exit with a profit. But that's not the only order that we need to worry about. We need to worry about if it goes against us, how we're going to get out and manage losses. So it's important to know when a trade has failed. Maybe as important as to know where to take your profits. Breakout trading offers this insight in a fairly clear manner. After a breakout, old resistance should act as a new support, and old support level should act as new resistance. At 500 level on NVIDIA, right? If it broke up above NVIDIA, what you're looking for is for that 500 level hold. If Apple breaks above 200, especially after the bell, what you'll be looking for is for that 200 level to come back in again. But what you're looking for is for it to hold on that particular occasion. Otherwise, you risk a failed breakout, okay? This is an important consideration because it is an objective way to determine when a trade has failed and an easy way to determine where your stop loss order should be. After a position has been taken, use the old support or resistance in the case of a short, old support in the case of a short, resistance in case of a long, as a line in the sand to close a losing trade. So that's basically as detailed as we're going to get today. We'll surmise this in a second. But what you should be looking for, identify the candidate. Wait for the breakout. Set a reasonable objective. If it's a blue sky setup, use the technique I just gave you with respect to range. Allow the stock to retest the level that it broke out from, 500 on NVIDIA. Allow it to retest at that level. Know when your trade pattern has failed. Be on the lookout for a failed breakout. And then second last, exit the trades towards the market close. And last but not least, be patient. Be patient and allow previous resistance to be retested. That is kind of an indicator of a successful breakout once that level comes back in to get tested and it holds and it continues up. Trust me, you'll thank me.
Yeah, I think that.
Trust me, bro.
I like that. When I was gonna say as well, like I think what's there's an interesting question here from Kendall Lopez.
Oh.
Could you also look at past consolidation levels and see the range that it had prior to the breakout? Yeah, I think that'd be interesting to kind of see like how it moves, right? And see like, hey, are we seeing the same kind of range? Are we seeing different kinds of ranges? Also, I think sometimes too, things don't always consolidate before a breakout, right? Like sometimes it comes back to a previous area of support. In that case, I would argue there might be even more confluence, you know what I mean? And then you kind of feel confident getting into the trade. That's what I noticed with NVIDIA here. That did have a really nice breakout right before we started the session, ironically.
Ooh.
I noticed we were just kind of coming back. We were making also higher highs. So the point is we had like a couple things going for it. You know what I mean? You're not going to try to get involved in a breakout trade just because there's one or two things you're noticing.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, like maybe sometimes like one or like two things, right? But if you see a lot like with NVIDIA, clear levels, higher lows, up on the day, right? Like there's a lot of precipitating factors to make you think that this could be potentially a breakout. So I would say to answer your question, Kendall, I don't know if that's a great answer to your question. It's a really good question. I would say, yeah, like you can look at both intraday and then maybe on the daily, like how does this move? Like as Sharif was saying, how does NVIDIA move going up to 500 with the false breaks, right? So are we seeing this or are we seeing a bit more stronger confirmation?
Let's look at it, Adara. Let's pull up the actual chart itself in the wild and have a look at what it looked like. Let's go to NVIDIA. And so I know that was last week's price action. Let's go to the 15 and zoom back here. There's the where's the 500, baby? All right, I'm zooming. There we go. Here's the 500. So this is the 500 breakout. This is what Neil was talking about right here, Adara. So look at this, okay? This is NVIDIA on January 5th over here, and this is NVIDIA on January 8th. So this was a Monday, or Tuesday. Tuesday, right? Okay. Because, yeah, that was, what was it?
It was Monday.
Tuesday? No, it was a Monday. It was Monday, right? Yeah, because I took that Monday off for my Christmas.
Took me a second too, yeah.
Yeah. So this was Monday. All right, so over here, we have NVIDIA with a top on Friday at 495. Look how it doesn't break it in the pre. It doesn't break it in the pre. In fact, we have a 496 touch, and then the second the bell rung at 9:30, we skyrocketed through 500, not looking back at all. Let's go ahead and look to see if 500 came in to get retested again. So we know 500 is this red dotted line right here, okay? Let's zoom, let's keep going. So NVIDIA didn't even look back. NVIDIA doesn't care about your feelings or anything like that. It didn't even come back for a 500 touch. So, you know, if you were waiting for that 500 retracement, you were probably sorely disappointed because it didn't give you that look. But typically, what you'll be looking for is for that breakout level to get retested, and if it gets retested and holds, it's a good look. So, shout out to whoever took that. I definitely wasn't involved in that. Let's just have a look at the future real quick, Adara. We have a high a day right now on the NQ of 17,271. We're at 62s right now, 63s right now. Let's see if we can make it up into that 300-point level. I think that will be the last beak wetter that I take around that level. I'm just, I'm unsure of whether we continue or not, but I mean, it's a V-shaped retracement here, definitely on the future. So I don't really see a point in getting out right now. All right, let's look at number one, the small cap gappers du jour. BFRG is not du jour. It has been running for multiple days now. It's up again 18, 19%. It did a touch with 5. So shout out to my man Nimit. Nimit was looking, he's like, yo, it's time to trade small caps right now. BFRG has given you day after day of small cap gapper moves. It's been putting in higher lows and higher highs today, so it's a bit of an upward channel, much in the same way that it traded yesterday. Look at that price action yesterday, all higher lows and higher highs, holding above VWAP for the majority of the day, saving except for that little time slot there between 11 to 11:20 when it did break down below VWAP. But other than that, it has been a good candidate for a VWAP hold. Right now, it is just a smidge below VWAP at that 460 level. VWAP on my chart's 463, but that $5 rejection was very interesting. We'll have to wait and see whether this gets going. And I don't want to call this a small cap gapper because it's a multi-billion-dollar company now, but SMCI is an absolute rocket ship of a stock today. It's a good company. I researched this late last year when everyone started noticing it move. It does a lot of Internet of Things, data center installation and support, you name it. You know, they give you software as well to kind of incorporate and connect all the different GPUs like the H100s and the MI300s, et cetera. Anyway, doing the dance with no pants right now at 400, trying to hold that 400 level. So this is what we were talking about, maybe with a breakout above a certain level. Let's see if that 400 level can hold. It's at 403, but you've had multiple touches at 400, excuse me, on SMCI. And then this one was popping off on the day, and Adara put this on the watch list. This one started moving in the aftermarket yesterday at around 420. MESA going to get a contract here, I think, with who is it? United Airlines or something like that?
United Airlines, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, United Airlines. It popped up in the aftermarket yesterday, got to that $1.33, and wasn't able to retest those levels again today. $1.25 is as good as it can do on the day today. So we'll be keeping an eye on MESA. But the one that's looking awfully good right now is EWTX. This one got off the schneid, as my friend Neil likes to say, at that 9 3/4 early on. That was yesterday's close. It knocked on the door of 13 3/4 today, and then put in a bit of a hold there at 13. Look at that hold at $13 on EWTX. Definitely, you could tell some people are buying up that level on this name. The market cap for this name, just a little bit below $1 billion, 847 million. The float on EWTX, not huge, but not small either. 63 million share float. Let me tell you the short float, if any. Let's bring
it's like 15%.
Is it? Awesome. Look at you all quick with it, eh?
I could be wrong, though. I think that's what it is.
Well, you're not completely wrong. 26% of the float is shorted, but this is giving me a completely different float, Adara, than what my platform. This is saying 36 million share float. My platform over here is saying 63 million shares, so just a 30 million, 27 million discrepancy there. So there could be also possibly a discrepancy with the short float, but Trade ID is saying 26%, excuse me.
Wow, yeah, I mean, that's certainly significant. Yeah, EWTX, what a mover today. I noticed that one right when I got to the big desk, it was like swooping up. And then I go to the, that was also in the small cap recap as well, just because that's definitely been one to keep an eye on. There are lots of small caps moving though today, and I appreciate the little small cap summary there. Yeah,
Nimit gets very excited when there's a lot of small caps. Shout out to Nimit.
It's a good day. It's been a good week for you then, Nimit, actually. Lots of small caps moving. Also, Willis Addison, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Coin, a gift that keeps giving, and Tesla today equals puts money bag emoji. Congrats to you. Let me pull up Coin, because I know you were in Coin shorts yesterday too, or Coin puts, sorry, I believe yesterday as well. So been a good couple days for you then, Willis Addison. Congrats. Oof, this, you know what, actually, to talk about breakdowns, this is an in the wild example, I think, of a flat bottom break.
Oh, excellent. Very nice.
Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, flat bottom of this 121 and a couple cents, swoop to the downside, decisive break below. I think that's really cool. I know that was not the intention there, Willis Addison, but thank you for giving us an excuse to look at an actual example of a breakdown in the wild. Let's look at Tesla as well, because I'm curious. There's a couple, there's a level I have my eye on in Tesla, actually. And it is that 209, 30, 209-ish area, because I like how we have this kind of, we get to there, we go down, we go back up, and then we come back down here, and then I feel like it's a decisive point. We hold it okay, then we go back down. I think the hold that we have around that 209, 209.20 area, 209.30 is significant enough to like make me keep an eye on it, right? It's not going to be the reason I enter a trade, but it'll be the reason I'm like, we're there again. You know what I mean? Let's see what we're doing.
Yeah.
Also, a couple more just to mention some in the wild examples of breakouts. Uber, a lot of people mentioned there. I'm sorry we didn't get to that earlier, and thank you to Neil as well for giving us live updates of the Uber breakup. Yeah, we are a little late to the party here. It's breaking back down now. But this Uber push to the upside, really significant. Look at this pre-market consolidation we had around that 648. Oh my gosh, 648. 64.85. Uber is not at 648. To 64.95, right? Not being able to push above that 65. Then we see that, like, kind of like what we have with NVIDIA, this gradual higher highs, higher lows. When we break that 65, we break it with a vengeance, and we break it with a nice little volume candle too. So more confluence there. Sharif mentioning, you know, like the more volume you have with the breakout, the more significant that is as well. So I think this is a really good example.
But we need to do volume comparisons.
That's true too. Okay.
Think about that, right? So whether you want to use relative volume, whether you want to take average volume over a specific period, there's no point in comparing a breakout volume in early 2024 to early 2023. What we want to see is late 2024, what it's been doing lately. What have you done for me lately type thing. So volume comparison is very important, whatever your metric is.
I see.
You see what I'm saying?
No, that makes sense. So it's like you're making sure that like what it's rare volume for this stock.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, Nick W. Marvell breaking out of an ascending wedge. Also a breakout. Let's see. And there are a couple people mentioning this one as well. So some confluence in the chat, I guess, too, on this Marvell thing. Let's look at that. Oh, okay. A little bit different because we were kind of down on the day, but I will agree that there was a breakout of a consolidated period. I'm not sure I'd call it an ascending wedge, mind you, but I do think that breakout of VWAP, which is also another area of interest. VWAP's not always going to matter, but as Obi was saying yesterday, like, you know, sometimes like stocks will be tracked to certain levels like magnets, and I think that's certainly like the significance of this cluttering around VWAP, this consolidation around VWAP. Then we have the nice push to the upside, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 5-minute candles. Really nice look here. Now we're coming back into another area of consolidation, right? So just, I think sometimes too, things don't have to necessarily always be in a pattern, and you can still kind of find these kind of levels, these kind of breakouts. You know what I mean? So I think that is of interest in terms of a breakout or breakup or breakdown type moves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we also have Fed Bar speaking at 1 because some people asking about that.
Yeah.
Fed Daily was speaking at 11:15, so I do not know if that is still occurring.
Mary Daly?
I believe so, yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and look at the economic calendar for today to see whether we have to worry about anything coming up here. So where are we? All right. So 1 o'clock, the Atlanta Fed GDP now, that gets 2 bulls out of 3, but it's not something that we typically cover on the show. Like Adair was saying, Fed Bar is going to be speaking at 1. And then as I move down, we have a lot of commodity stuff, aluminum, crude, copper, silver, nat gas, etc. All that stuff comes out at 3:30, not stuff we cover on the show either. And then, as Adair was saying, 4:15 is when Mary Daly will speak, or is slated to speak. That you'll have to cover with, I think Neil is going to be doing the market recap show in lieu. Yeah, no. Well,
yeah, there's a lot of words you could have used.
Whatever.
There, yeah. Sorry, I was so confused there.
Yeah. And replacing Sean, who's off on the day. Guys, I want to talk about Apple because there's obviously a trade to be had here at 190 on Apple. Look how many times we've come into that 190 level on the day. Forget about the pre-market and rejected off it. Sure, we've broken it. 190.16, technically the HOD, but anybody setting up a short there has been rewarded with at least 40 pennies, maybe even more, because what we've been doing is we've been coming into 190, rejecting, but holding VWAP. Here we go again. We're down into the 189 and 2/3. Apple has been stuck in about a 50 to 40 point range for the better part of an hour now, since we kind of got into this 180, high 189 area. So consolidative range here happening before our very eyes on Apple, in between VWAP and the whole $10 level at 190. Let's see if we can get a decided break above 190 and a closing print as well above that level. Right now it's coming down into VWAP, and last time around it did that at around 11 o'clock when we first started the show. We got a VWAP bounce, so we'll have to see if that pattern continues and whether or not we get some sort of trade right now on Apple. Let's put the NVIDIA ticker in there. NVDA, I don't know where it went. Yeah, so not much to really report here on the Mag 7. Google, I would say, looking like the strongest of the bunch, though. Is it the strongest of the bunch by percentage? NVIDIA is a little stronger right now. It's up 1.94. Google's chart looks a little bit better, though, through the break of that 146, retracing now. What I'm going to say on Google is look for it to hold that IB high. So the implied balance high right at the open there was, let's say, 145 and a half, 145 and 2/3. If the price comes down into that level, I'll be looking for resistance to hold up as support. Usually they flip spots there, so we'll have to wait and see if Google gets a nice hold there. All right, back to the futures trade that I'm on. As we come back into the 40s, I didn't wet my beak there on the touch of 70s because I have one more out only. I'm just going to be holding, looking for a possible move into 17.3. We'll have to wait and see whether that happens or not, but getting a bit of a rejection off that 2/3 level right now there.
Yeah, there's lots happening in mega caps. Hog Rider, I believe, as well, mentioning Meta on this 382 level. And looking at that made me realize, I kind of like the look of Meta for a breakout. And I like that too. Another aspect of what I look for, we're entering trades sometimes, especially if we're kind of looking at a key level for a while here, is when we have these failed wicks to the downside. So it's like sellers getting overwhelmed by buyers, right? We have the candle close wherever it does, and then these wicks, long wicks to the downside. So I think that's not at all a bad look for Meta here. As long as we can kind of continue holding that 381 level, I'd be interested. I'm getting out if it drops below that 380.60, 380.50 area, because that would be a newer low. We'll have to see how this trade kind of goes, but I've noticed we've been able to hold this level pretty well. Watched it for a little bit. I also have to discuss a trade I was in earlier, which is not really breakout related. I guess now it's breaking down, but it's just kind of like, we'll talk about it. I was in this Disney trade earlier. I briefly visited the House of Mouse. And I really should have actually shorted this after the breakdown. I considered doing that, but I was like, oh, maybe not. Should have really done that. I want to see if what we do at this 91.80 level, though, because we had a nice clean move to the upside off of that this morning with really good volume. Basically, why I got involved is because I saw a skosh of a roundy face here, right? A little bit of a smiley face. We had a little bit of a rounded bottom. Tried to get involved. The goal, especially as we're kind of getting closer to VWAP. In retrospect, though, looking at these candle wicks, I never should have gotten involved. Like, it looks like we do have a lot of buyers overwhelming sellers, right? So basically, the same reason I got into Meta is the reason I shouldn't have gotten into Disney. To make a long story short, that is my update on Disney. Speaking of long story short, Disney really should have been a short for me once we did that breakdown. But basically, once I noticed we were kind of breaking the newer low, took a 15-cent hit on this name. Also, in the SIM, so it is a paper trading here, just trying to get a better sense of how things are going. Meta still slightly below that 381, making me a little bit nervous here. But as long as we don't have a lower low, I still think that this one has a nice opportunity to go higher, especially, again, VWAP. The fact that we're near VWAP is kind of interesting. We do have that nice VWAP bounce a couple times here, so I think this could be fairly significant. I would probably take out profits right before that 382 just in case we don't break out. But yeah, I think to kind of bring this one up, because Hog Rider did mention it, I think longer term here, we're up on the day. Like, I do think we all have all the ingredients for an ascending wedge and a breakout trade here. Like, look, flat top just below that 382. Whole dollar level, which is also sometimes interesting. For the most part, lower highs, really nice flat top. I think if we do break that top, I think it will be an explosive move to the upside. So that is my take on that for you, Hog Rider. I hope that's helpful in some way. Oh, how are the futures going?
Good. I'm in Apple as well.
Oh, yay.
So Apple dipped into VWAP, and what I'm looking for here is a VWAP hold. All right, my out, my stop, if this goes against me, is a break of the $0.50. So we're going to risk a little bit here. VWAP on my chart right now is at just a little bit below the 2/3. We're long 64s. If it breaks down below 50, I have a stop at 48. I've got my first beak wetter at 79. So let's see if this one runs. We're already in the mid 70s, looking to print off that VWAP bounce on Apple. That's what I'm looking for on this particular trade. The futures, I'm just going to hold this because we're in so low through the break of 200. We're long at 210. So we already rocketed up to 270. I've already wet my beak 4 times. And I'm just going to hold to see if we get a 300 move. So that is going to be the approach there. What I also want to talk about, and what a lot of people are talking about in the chat, is TSLA. Look at this, lower high, lower high, lower high, all below VWAP. We're looking for a possible flat bottom break at that, say, 208 level, even though the low of the day, Adara, is 208.19. But we have, you know, that price action that's just yelling, I'm going to 200. That's the way I feel about it. And look where it rejected off of there at pivot point. It loves that pivot point.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That was crazy.
That's a nice looker right there, eh? Oof. And so what you see here, this is the 5-minute look on Tesla. You have a touch into 213, looked awfully strong to start. It went green to red. It was a Christmas tree retracement down, and then we had multiple VWAP rejections as it tried to curl back up, you know, failing to do so, and now we are knocking on the door of 208. This could be very interesting here. Lower highs and a flat, well, kind of lower lows as well, but 208 is kind of the line in the sand there on TSLA. So this could be a very interesting short here on Tesla, especially if the market starts turning. And we didn't get that beak wetter yet on AAPL, so we'll have to wait for that one. Apple coming right back down now, possibly here into my stop. So we're just as quickly as we were about to pump up on Apple, right back down we go to VWAP and below VWAP. So this one triggers below that 48. I'm going to be out there. Let's just have a look at the future. The future is coming back down now. It is bringing Apple, and well, Apple could be bringing the futures, or the future. It's who's wagging who? Is it the tail that wags the dog, or the dog that wags the tail? It's the question of our time, Adara.
It is. It really is like the question of the century.
I got stopped out of Apple there, so I should have probably put my stop a little bit below. I feel like we're going to bounce off there. How much did I lose there on AAPL? Oh, not that bad. That's not a bad loss there on Apple. Okay, not too bad. So we'll have to pack our patience there, but I feel like I might have been bamboozled on this one. Probably should have had my stop a little bit farther off, because now it's bouncing right back up again. I tried for that $50 hold, but I can always get back in. So Apple, right back up, and we'll have to wait for another opportunity possibly here on Apple. The dog wags the tail, duh.
Fabian saying in that year too, what came first, the chicken or the egg? It's always
go,
all these
right?
age-old questions over here, right?
Yeah, it looks like I got bamboozled there on Apple, because I just literally got bottom wick, and now it's pumping right back up. But anyway, we'll hold on to this and see what we get on the future.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, the future looks bright, and so do the futures.
I like that. Okay.
I just thought of that, and I was like, I have to say it. But yeah, I mean, I'm in this meta now. Interesting now, weirdly, oddly enough, 380.80 is interesting in the book. We'll go up, we'll go back to 380.80. We'll go down, we'll go back to 380.80. I do say I feel emboldened by this VWAP bounce. Like, whoop, meta hit VWAP, and then it was like, actually, I'd rather not. Went back to the upside. I do like this look. Like I said, taking some profit out before this 382 area. I am still, like, I do lean scalpier. I feel more comfortable in trades when I am scalping. But also, you know, I really appreciate Neil in the comments yesterday saying, like, you know, don't be afraid to hold a trade if it's going well as well, right? So with Meta looking like a decent breakout candidate here, I think I will take a piece out before that 382 and then leave a piece for the dream. So that's going to be my strategy there. I might also, if we keep holding this 380.80, we might do a Scotia DCAing over here. I don't have too many shares involved in this, so we will have to see how this goes. Also, a couple people mentioning, or someone mentioning Walmart in the chat here. Taini, what's your take on Walmart? Took calls for profit this morning, sold checkmark. What do you think about the week coming up? Yeah, I could take a look at Walmart. Give me a moment here. Guessing it's going to be like a daily or weekly chart. I'll look at the intraday first, and then I'll look at wider scales. Also, yay, Meta trying to break that 381. Yay. Meta moves. Okay. I mean, I know we're not talking intraday, but I think the intraday on this is interesting. We went above VWAP, went back below. We'll see what we do at this 160. 150 area. I think this is kind of an interesting look here for Walmart, but let's look at the daily chart for Walmart. Okay, let me zoom out. Yeah, this is kind of an interesting look. We had an upward channel for a while here, and I will attempt to draw it. This is a really, I think, really nice case of higher highs, higher lows, starting on Valentine's Day 2023, continuing until when did we have this decisive break below this? This is going to be November to remember. It started falling off mid-November. Then I think basically of interest for Walmart, I'd like to kind of see if we break that 166 area, because that was our second highest top before this nice top in that channel of 170. I think 166 and then 170 would be interesting. I think, though, definitely we just need to be seeing some higher highs and higher lows, because right now we did this. This is a lower low.
Tesla 208.
This is a lower
Tesla
high.
208. There it goes, and we take a beak wetter through there. Tesla's tanking, guys. Another beak wetter. There goes Tesla into the $0.50 again. Let's see if we get another beak wetter at this level. We do. So multiple beak wetters now on Tesla as it gives up the ghost at 208. Now, we're talking about breakout and breakdown trading. Let's see what it does back at 208. Does it come back into 208 and reject, or is this a failed breakdown, right? So then we're going to want to watch this intently. I've already de-risked a lot of it because Tesla's a wild one, and, well, I just don't want to get burnt. So already took out a little bit there for nice winners. Let's see what kind of continuity we get on the breakdown here on TSLA. How much shares do I have? 1 sec. Okay. Well, not bad. Here comes 208 back again. Back again. Yeah. Let's just see if we can hold below 208 on Tesla. Tesla is likely to give us bamboozlement, though, which is hence why I got down. I took out a nice little portion of the trade. As it broke down there. Now we're back into the 80s. Let's watch intently as this comes into 208 Adair.
Yeah, I have to say, that's probably one of the most polite ways I've ever heard Tesla described. Poised for bamboozlement. Not stressla. I like that. I really appreciate you're showing Tesla some respect, which I think is really admirable with a trade that is as bamboozly, for lack of a better term, as Tesla. Also, Meta moving. So I am all smiles over here. In this little Meta trade, I have a profit taker set at 381.89. I know that's a very specific level, but I noticed that 381.90 seems to be a bit of a hold there for these previous candles, even these wicks above. And I know Meta and the spread on Meta makes me a little bit nervous doing whole dollar levels. We were talking about this too. Like sometimes you have to adjust, or you're going to take your profit. You can't really always do these whole dollar levels or these even levels. So I think that is going to be kind of interest to me. Also, I have to say, it's cool how many breakout or attempted breakouts we have today on breakout day. It's like the market's new. Like Tesla did that. Tesla has its breakdown. NVIDIA had its break above that 580.50, I want to say earlier. Also, NVIDIA, of note here, we did not make that new higher high of that 538.50. We could not close above it. Then we had this kind of little move to the downside here, which I think will be of interest. Yeah, Denard saying, what is NVIDIA looking like? I think NVIDIA looks a little bit frowny-faced right now. So, you know, the whole Michael Noss by the smiley face, or sometimes we'll say roundy face here. And then, you know, the frown would be the opposite of this, right? So we're seeing a little bit of a rounded top, I would say, here, which I think is definitely going to be of interest. In terms of my look on NVIDIA, I'd be hesitant to short this. I know I like doing a little risky things sometimes, but I'm really hesitant to short a name that is up 2% in the day, especially when that name is NVIDIA. And also what makes me nervous too is we have these wicks to the downside that shows that we have you know, these sellers getting overwhelmed by buyers. I think this rounded top could just be a little bit of a relief. A bit of consolidation and then going higher. So I want to be careful here. Mark Day saying giraffe. I mean, yeah, I guess NVIDIA does kind of have that long neck look here. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but that's kind of the look I kind of see that in NVIDIA here. Also, SMCI, I have my eye on. I have my SMCI on Supermicro. because I kind of think if we break this top, this could be interesting, this 410. Like, look at this range, this 400 to 410. I would not be shorting this range. I know I like to do range scalps. I would not be shorting this on the way down. I'd like to make myself very clear, because I did consider it for a moment, and then I was like, Adara, it's up 31% on the day, and it's a $400 stock. So being careful there, but I would, if we kind of continue to see this range, I think this break of 410 could be interesting. I just want to make sure we at least make a flat top before I decide to get involved there, because if we can't even get to 410, I don't really want to get put my foot in the door there. How is Tesla going?
It's not bad. So my out on Tesla is going to be the break of 50 pennies. We actually got bottom wick there right at 60, and we're out of the majority of the position. So now, if it makes a new 5-minute candle to make a new high, that's going to be my exit on this one. Let me just show you exactly what I'm talking about. This is Tesla over here. This is the candle we're at. If it breaks and makes a new high above this candle over here, that's the end of my trade, because it looks like a bit like a hammer candle. Now, I could get bamboozled. I've already printed on it, so I'm happy with that, and I don't want to give too much back. So I'm trying to pack my patience to see whether or not 208 will hold, but I have a definite line in the sand of 208.5. If it breaks above that, makes a 5-minute candle to make a new high, that is where I'm ending the trade. But right now, it is still knocking on the door of 200, not really breaking above it with any vigor, not breaking below it with any vigor either. So let's see what this one decides to do, whether 208 will be a good support level right now, because the future's pumping right back up. So we're up back into the 50s here on the future, but Tesla doesn't look like it's participating as much as some of these other Mag 7 names on this curl up on the future. Like, I'm looking at Apple. I'm getting a decided VWAP hold on Apple after getting bamboozled. There goes Tesla again, below 207. I've got a beak wetter sitting at the $0.75. So we'll see if we can continue to stay below 208. But there is no question in my mind that this one breaks above 208.5. I am ending the trade. Still going to be positive. Pardon me. Still going to be positive on it, even if it makes its way back up there, because we're not holding all that much of this trade yet. But yeah, right now it's putting in a lower high. Right, this could all change. We're looking at the 1-minute chart here. I've also got the 5-minute on the side. Yeah, a lot of indecision. You could tell there is a tug of war between buyers and sellers. Right back above we go on Tesla at 208 again. Breaks 208.50 ML.
Yeah, there's certainly, yeah, it's definitely not participating in the rally that we're seeing with the rest of the market here. It's certainly an interesting look there on Tesla. I feel like that 208 could be interesting, but I feel like Tesla also, like we said, Tesla plays by its own rules. Do you know what I mean? So I think it could continue to be a short. Like, we'll have to, that breakdown could be of interest. I'm just watching Tesla, because I feel like this, you're right. Like, I think indecision is the name of the game here on the book and the tape. Meta making me a little bit nervous, because we're now holding this 381.30. I'm trying to have my patience packed, pack patience there. Shout out to Sharif for that one, but we're having this nice breakup into that 381.40, which I hope we continue to have. That would be very nice indeed. Also, SMCI now going back to that 410 as I was speaking there. Shout out to, there's someone in the chat mentioning this here. So shout out to you. I'm losing that there, but this is a really nice look here on this SMCI approaching that 410.
I'm out.
I'm gonna have to see what, oh, you're out of Tesla?
Yeah.
Okay.
It broke through 208.5, so we get out there. We take a little bit of a loser on the last little piece, but it was definitely the minority of the position. But I'm now watch. Now it's going to tank. I just know it. But you got to draw the line somewhere. Anyway, futures pumping absolutely back up here. It closed to high day. We're about 12 points off high day right now. Probably has something to do with why Tesla's bouncing. Yeah, all the Mag 7 names are curling up. So we'll continue to watch the futures position that we're in. About 60 points in the 50 points in the money, excuse me, right now. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed with this Tesla trade. I definitely would have wanted to hold the rest of this. I always end up getting top wick. No! As it comes right back down again into 208.25, but that's just the way she goes. So, what can you do? Eric, compare Tesla with the market. Tesla will break down when the market will go down. Well, Tesla's been marching to the beat of its own drum today. As you can compare, the market is making higher lows and higher highs, while Tesla is the exact opposite of that, lower highs and lower lows. So it's a bit of its own kind of thing there. Nimit, not seeing anything on volume scanner for now. Look, Nimit, I gotta tell you, it's not really the day for these small cap gappers, or is it? Let's have a look. Let's bring in the side charts over here. And I'm gonna say, you know, this EWTX is not a bad looker, except the volume is dropping off a little bit on EWTX. What is the volume right now on this bad boy? Okay, let's load it up. So EWTX, about 6 million shares, 5.92, hasn't done all that much. And look how sideways it's been for a long time now. I mean, like, this is not what you want to see, right? Clearly, it's been holding 13. We talked about this 13 level definitely being an area of support above VWAP, but there's got to be some action here. And you're not getting anything right now. It's a good small cap gapper. I mean, like, you know what my rules are: above VWAP and above the pre-market high. Well, the pre-market high is quite easy to define. It is 11 3/4. It's broken that and then some. So that high was made around 8:30 this morning. Yeah, so not much else to kind of report for small caps. BFRG obviously is a good looker as well, but you're going to have to get this one on dips, because if you're trying on breakouts, look what happened at 5. You tried to break out at 5, and then you got bamboozled because it went to 505. Bless you, Ram, and then right back into that 4.5. So try to get this on the troughs rather than getting it on the breakouts today. BFRG is what I'm talking about there. Let's go back and have a look at Stressla. Okay, so maybe I did get out at a good spot because it's right back up into that 208.5. Who knows? We'll have to see. The market, though, is continuing to make higher highs. We'll see if we can break through that previous high of 17,271. It'd be just fantastic if we could hit 17.3 today on the future and take a 90-point winner. I'd be pleased as punch, as Adara likes to say.
I like that. Pleased as punch.
Yes, ma'am.
All flavors of punch, always a good time. Also, speaking of punch, I just punched out of, that actually worked out really conveniently for me, for part of my meta position here. I said I was going to take part of it out at 381.89, but then I noticed we had these failed wicks to the upside. I was getting a little bit nervous here, so I got out part of my position, 381.60. Not going to lose any sleep over that because I see how we keep rejecting off that right before 382. I'm going to hold the rest of this position, though, now that I have, I've taken some profits there. The beak has been, dipped in there. It's been wet.
That's good.
The cookies have been dipped in the milk, whatever analogy you would like to put there. But I think that 382, which shout out to Hog Rider for mentioning this one to me earlier in the chat. Much appreciated. I really do like this look. As long as we don't make a lower low, I like this, and I also love that really clean VWAP bounce earlier. And like I was saying earlier too, I feel very blessed that we have so many breakout moves today on breakout day, right? Like it worked out very well. We had some nice small cappers moving for small cap day. We had some nice scalp possibilities for scalp day. Things have been going really nicely in terms of this. Yeah.
190 again, Adara on Apple. Here we go again. Do we get the break? 189.99. It sounds like a fire sale or something right there. But we're not able to break through 190, Adara. We're not right now. There we go. Now we're getting prints above 190, but we are likely to encounter that tug of war between buyers and sellers at this level for whatever reason on Apple. I mean, 190s, we've done and dusted this one a bunch of times, but it is the $10 level and it is intraday trading, so it will present itself as an interesting level of resistance as it is doing right now. But the holy grail of resistance on Apple is 200, okay? So, you know, this is an intraday little tug of war, but the real tug of war is going to be at that 200 level should it make its way up there in the near future. Right now, we're getting another tug of war intraday between buyers and sellers at this level like we have been all morning. So we'll have to wait and look for a closing print decidedly above that level. I'm not talking about a couple of pennies close on the 1-minute chart. No, I want a clearance of it, 190 and a quarter, 190 and a third on a closing basis on the 5-minute. And if on the 15 would even be better. Shout out to Obi and his 15-minute look there. He's always charting on the 15. I love that.
Yeah, it's great.
Back to the future, Adara, as we are awfully close. 2 high days, 17,271. We're at 6.9s right now. Nice. As we approach high day here on the future, we're printing big on this position. Eric, Confluence, I got to hit the bank. Sometimes, because Obi knows, as soon as the word confluence is hit, we got to hit the bank. Confluence sometimes may factor, need to act at the same time to make a break. Levels, trends, mood, news, Elon. Those are a lot of words.
I like that Elon's his own category for like Tesla-related confluence. Yeah.
Right? Shout out to you, Eric. Picky Eater, LOL, maybe because Kramer say, but buy the dips on Apple. I don't like when Kramer is are talking about anything that I'm in. I don't. I just want him to not talk about anything that I'm trading so that it doesn't go the opposite way. But I feel you, Picky Eater. I got you. Rock Doc. It higher on Meta. Great job, Adara. Bears versus Bulls. Sharif, no, great job, you, my friend. Good for you for actually joining us today and participating, obviously, in the trade. Adara, we just touched 12,270 again and then found resistance, surprise, surprise, at this level. We are expecting resistance for whatever reason at the 70-point level. I'm not really sure what to make of it. But the same way we're dancing with 17,270 is the same way we're dancing with 190 on Apple right here. Okay, so now we're breaking above 190 on Apple, but not by any real discernible amount. Adara, we're going to need to clear this 190 level nicely, 15, 20 pennies on a closing basis, and then we can talk about possibly taking this and riding it higher.
Yeah, that's a nice look. Speaking of levels, I feel obliged to mention NVIDIA, 586. Like, I'm just going to make this face because NVIDIA plays by its own rules. You know how we were saying like Tesla has its own logic? I think NVIDIA might just be on its own hemisphere. This is a name that was not at 500 at the start of the week yesterday. And it is now almost at 600.
Unreal.
We were talking about this morning because I think I was saying to you, I was like, oh, I like this like 580. And then I realized like, oh my God, 580?
Unreal.
NVIDIA at 580. Like, let's look at this. I remember there was a time while I was here that this thing was below 400. And here we were around October, around Halloween. Look at this move up. This is stratospheric. This will be a very nice earnings call. Lots of celebrations. Ooh, I like that.
Remember October?
Yes, yeah.
Definitely didn't turn out.
I think the animation, it was so cute though.
The animation was better than the month itself. Let's be real about it.
Way better.
Except on October 31st when things started going up.
Yeah. No, I love, and I think too, you know, like Jensen Huang and Lisa Su having they're gonna have a great family reunion next time they see each other because AMD has also been rocket shipping to the upside, up 3%. Yeah, like great looks for both of these charts. I have no comments. Like there's no chart analysis to be done here. Higher highs, higher lows.
Rocket ship.
Gap up, gap up, gap up. Really nice look. Also, thank you, Willis Addison, for the $2 super chat. Let's go. Coin down emoji, sunglasses emoji. Funds are dumping nicely. Pay me in all caps. Well, it looks like if you are in coin shorts or puts, you have certainly been paid, sir. We are now below 119. This is the opposite, honestly, of what happened in AMD and NVIDIA. First part accurate. Then we just had this rapid fall to the downside here. But congratulations on your puts there for you, Willis Addison, on coin. Meta's still moving. I'm proud of myself for still being in this because we know I get a little bit nervous staying in trades for like more than 5 seconds. But you know, I'm trying to work on patience. I'm really trying to take what Neil said yesterday to heart, just like trying to hold on to things if they're working. We haven't made a lower low on this yet, so I'm gonna try to be patient. I do have some of my profits out, but if I do continue to kind of see what we're seeing here, I may take some out at this right before 382, because this 382 might be a bit more of a struggle than I thought. I can always get back in if I want. And as I say that, we're like falling a little bit here. I don't love this. But I mean, yeah, like we're just gonna kind of let Meta move a little bit. See, there we go, we're right back up. I really should be better at patience, especially trading these Mag 7 names, I have to say. Like they move so much. It's amazing that I haven't like, you know, been more just kind of noticing. Like you gotta wait a couple minutes, right? Like you get out and then it'll rocket right back up to the upside. So I'm gonna try to be a little bit more patient. Here, also, Setarang saying in the chat, only stock carrying the markets are semis. They have no top, just moon forever. Yeah, I mean, AMD, NVIDIA, very clear evidence of that there.
Yes, ma'am. I'm keeping my eye on Tesla here to see if we're going to get a curl back down. I'm not going to jump into this one already. We gave some back on this name. We had a good trade on it, but then we ended up giving back a little bit over here. So this one's curling back into possibly 209. I'm looking at the 20-period moving average. It rejected off the 50 earlier. The 50 is at 209.5, right? So the 50 is around ish right here on my chart, on my 5-minute look on my side. So I'm going to be looking to see whether or not we can put in a lower high on TSLA and possibly ride this short again. But now Apple is acting distinctly different here. As my friend Obi likes to say, we are now holding 190, looks like on a closing basis. And I'm using the 5-minute chart to judge that over here. So all these prints south of like, look at this. This is the only candle that you could make an argument for that had a closing print above 190. It was 190.06. This one over here, 190.14. And then the side over here, we got to 190.16. So we're going to keep an eye on this one. Is Neil ready? Okay. All right, guys. So, well, he's not. So we're going to wait. The real deal with Neil is coming up right now. There we go.
What is the breakout trade that none of you are actually taking, or at least most people aren't taking, and how can you add it to your repertoire? That's what I want to talk about today. We're going to get the real deal on, and let's just get started with it. Breakouts, you could talk breakouts every single day for a month when in trading, because everybody's looking at them. It's all about that explosive upside when you've been collecting at a level and sellers on top of sellers, and they can finally take out that top. Uber is an example. I'll give you a standard breakout here. I was in it. Now I'm in a dip buy. It had 65 top yesterday. It had a pre-market top of 65. It tested again. Everybody knows this. You take the long when it breaks. Look for the big continuation. You got an upward trend in this stock in a general sense as well. So everything about this breakout is about as standard as it's going to get. Like, what do you not like about that? It's taking out a high. It's taking out a resistance level. It's significant. It's got the upward trend. You probably have a bunch of stops. It's an even dollar number, 65, 5s and 10s, evens. Everybody likes that kind of a trade. The thing about the easy trade is it can tend to be a little bit crowded. So sometimes you want to apply those same principles, and the principles that we're talking about here are something which is consolidating into a top, like it's building pressure into a level where there will be a lot of stop orders. Stop orders for anybody short, they might be covering at that level. So you want to have pressure into a level, you want to have stop orders. Ideally, you want to have an overall general trend in that direction. So even better, if you're looking long, you want an overall general trend to the upside. So all of those things are obvious when you're taking out the high of the day, but how could you possibly have that kind of a trade off of lows? Could you have that off of lows or under VWAP? Yes, you actually can. And I had one of those today, thankfully, so we're able to get this. And I love the fact that, look, we can always point at charts and show you a setup, but ultimately I'd much rather be able to show you an actual trade where you can get something like a consolidation breakout trade that's probably one that is not in your toolbox for a lot of traders. So here's Funware, as you can see, got absolutely squashed this morning. There's nothing bullish about that. However, you've got a couple of things working for it. Wipeout bottom, you've got higher lows into the same resistance level. The other thing that you've got going along with it, and I'll just pop to this nice little 15-minute chart, is it's had a history of doing this. So in what is a gentle upward trend, it had a big move, and since they dropped an offering, what has it done? Higher lows, and even with this little Hwadunk action, it still has a chance to hold on to the support level. So you're in a very gentle upward trend in a stock with some buy pressure, and then you're looking for a consolidation breakout. It's all about the risk to reward here. So given the fact that it's at the low of the day, or at its local bottom, the low of the day is at 16 cents, but really, this is a breakout off of this 20-cent level. So what are you looking for when you get that kind of a trade? First, it has to make a defined bottom. That's the most obvious thing for anybody to say. Like, I need to see a rejection of a level on volume. Did it do it? Absolutely. Not once, but twice. It did a huge volume bottom right there in the pre-market, and then just for good measure, after making a higher low and giving you this 22-cent level of rejection, at the open, it then makes another big dip on volume at 9:30 on the open that goes into a higher low. Well, that's kind of gorgeous. So you get 15, 16 cents here. The market opens up. It wicks the 18 level, immediately recovers to this price, which is going to matter in a second. That's 20 cents. Right back into 20 cents. There's your consolidation. It tries to dip again. What does it do? It makes another higher low. So I get it. This looks nasty. Very, very nasty. But what has happened since then? Recovered, and at the open, wick bottom, hold, higher low, consolidation. You've now had 2 higher lows off of the open. Off a stock, which I showed you on the 15-minute, has been holding the same bottom since it got crushed. So it's got a very defined low that it's working off of. So any consolidation break on there, I'm going to give it that chance. It's a pretty simple setup. I think you can take it 2 ways. I elected to use the 20-cent level in here by taking the 20-cent break and giving it to that local bottom. You could have easily also taken this at about 19.5 or maybe even 19 even as it's consolidating there, and you're giving it to that low. I prefer 20 cents to see it actually bust through some of that resistance. But it's all about identifying that tight wind up where stock is just compressing and compressing, and then it gives you a sense of a breakout. The other good portion of this trade is if you're thinking about the other side of your trading, which I think you should always think about the other side of your trade, who's your counterparty in this situation? Maybe some shorts covering? Like, what did we show? There's probably shorts up here that have been like, oh, look at that, they dropped an offering. I so happen to be shorting the stock on that move up. They drop an offering. I'm not getting out just yet. I'm still deep in the money. There's shorts looking for reasons to cover. One time makes a bottom. Second time makes a higher low. At that point, it gaps up. You might be thinking I should be covering when it continues to hold the 15-cent level. Like if it found a bid, it immediately found a bid at 15 cents after the offering, well, then maybe that is a defined bottom. There are shorts there, maybe even there that have to be thinking about what happens when it holds that same low at 15. Where is my out? If I was trailing a short, I'd be thinking about things like 22. When it failed this 20 at the open the second time, I'm like, okay, either it gets to the low and presses to 15, or I should take the profit in at that 20 level. That's your confluence. You've got higher lows for a short-term trend. You've got a defined support at that 15-cent level. You've also got plenty of shorts that are in the money in the short term in the last 3 days on the stock to give you a press to the upside. All you need is for it to go 2 to 5 cents. You're risking 1, right? So in this particular case, it's about 5% worth of risk, and you can be taking 10 to 20% gains, and that's just going into the 2 most obvious levels. It shows you there's 10%, and it shows you the next level up, 24 to 25. That's your 20%. It doesn't have to be rocket science. I think sometimes you want to try to make trading as simple as possible. I am a firm believer in keep it simple, stupid. And this is that example right here. Now, obviously, breaking out the high of the day matters. I get it. Everyone wants to have breakout trades where you can see that defined top and the relief of pressure. NVIDIA 500 is a perfect example of that. But if you can find trades where it gives you the consolidation breakout off of lows, sometimes it's the path of least resistance which can be the most effective for you. So in this particular case, happen to have an example of it here with Funware. Remember, you want a defined bottom. You want at least one higher low if you can. You want there to be some shorts reasonably covering on the other side of it, a defined breakout price, some targets in there for you as well. Doesn't hurt when it has a crap ton of volume like Funware did here today. So it's the breakout that I don't think a lot of people are taking, a consolidation break off a stock near its bottoms. There's one for your toolbox. Hopefully you can use it to your advantage, and we'll send it right on back. But that's that real deal.
You real deal with Neil. Evander ain't got nothing on you, my friend. Shout out to Neil. Thank you very much for that. I have gotten into AAPL while the Neil was dropping facts. And let's see if we can run up here for the first peak weather at 15s, and I'm sitting at 20s. I'm looking for a 190 hold here on Apple. Call me optimistic or whatever. Call me whatever. But we're going to see what we get here on Apple. The future, while Neil was talking, tanked for some reason, rejecting the high. It made a new high of day, 17,274, tanked all the way down into the 30s, and then we're back into the 60s, high 50s now. We'll see what we get here on this trade, but a lot of volatility. I got to tell you, for midday, we've got some volatility today, so we'll have to wait and see what we get there at Dara. Should we start the lesson again?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
right.
I can get it kicked off here.
Quite straightforward today. We're talking about breakout trading, baby.
Yes, we are. And so basically, yeah, I mean, really good day for breakout trading too. We've had so much of it. And if anyone has any real examples, I would love to pepper those in and make those part of the lesson, right? Because we were talking about breakout trades. If you see a breakout trade, let me know and we'll take a look, because I think that would really add some color to the proceedings, which is always what we want to do here on the How to Trade. I almost said the midday show, but How to Trade. Also because actually, like, I'm trying to do something of a breakout trade myself here too, so I can touch on that as well. Nick W. actually asking about Meta, so we'll start with that for the breakout.
Sure, yeah.
Why I'm also in it, so kind of confluencing there. What did I do here? I had to. It's a really good word. So here's this flat. Okay, if I could draw. Apologies there, technical difficulties caused entirely by myself. So we have this flattish top of this 382, right? And we have, for the most part, higher lows. So I like this look. I was kind of looking for like lower lows to get out, but also like this constant VWAP bounce I really like as well. I think it is staying strong. So basically what I'm trying to do here is I actually DCA'd a little bit in, which is not something I normally do, but I like that 381 hold. Even when the futures dipped, we jumped right back off VWAP on Meta. So, and again, we were talking too, this is gonna come up a lot when we do talk about breakout tradings, but you do want to see multiple factors working in your favor for that breakout to happen. So with Meta, we have the higher highs, we have the higher lows. We have the respect for VWAP, which is, again, VWAP is not always going to be a factor that matters, but a lot of times it does. So I think that's a really good level as well to keep an eye on, just the fact that we have this breakout as well. This is also like respecting that flat top really well too, right? So I think there's some different elements that I think are worth noting. We also had these touches almost of that 382 with these wicks, right? So it's like, as we said, the more times we touch a level, the more important it is. Meta has touched 382, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, just in terms of like little movements, but in terms of like actual touches, probably more than that. So the point I'm trying to make is like the more kind of significance, it's more significant the more emphasis you have of that top. But let's actually talk about what a breakout is. So it's basically just when a stock price moves outside of a defined support or resistance level with increased volume. Because you really need that volume for that breakout to really pop, right? Also, that can be like, the defined range really depends. It can be like, a pattern, like we have this, ascending wedge here, or that descending wedge. There was something earlier descending wedging. I think it was Coinbase that I'll pull up here as well, just to show what I mean by that. But if there's like, basically, if you have a defined, here we go, this descending wedge on Coinbase is crazy. It's when you have a defined area, a defined level of trading, a defined top, a defined bottom, or a defined range, and you break out of that with a swiftness, with a volume. We didn't really have a huge volume breakout to the downside here. I guess like a slightly longer candle, but still very clearly like a breakout of a very well-defined range there on Coinbase. So that's just one example here. But basically, how do you find a good candidate for breakout trades? Because that's really important. You don't want one that's just going to kind of waffle around there, right? You want like, will this break out successfully? Will it work out for me, right? And how do I know this entry is making sense? So when you're trading breakout, you really need to consider the underlying support and resistance levels, right? And as Sharif was saying, and as I was saying with Meta just now as well, the more times that you have a stock touch the support and resistance levels and then bounce back, the more valid the levels are and the more important they've become. Like with Meta, just to show Meta again, we've been holding that 382 top like a rock, and we keep bouncing off VWAP, like these wicks back up off VWAP, right? Like I'm going to stay involved in this until we break below VWAP. I shouldn't say until, as long as we don't break below VWAP, right? Because it shows, like, the more times you have proof that this level exists, the more that you think, the more that you see, I guess, this I'm going to say confluence again, confluence, and the more proof you have of strength there. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. And as prices consolidate, various price patterns are going to occur in the price chart. And like I said, different formations, doesn't really matter what formation you have as long as you're seeing that respect for the levels, right? If anyone sees any flat channels as well, actually, you know what? It didn't last for a super long time, but that SMCI sort of channel here, we had that 400 hold really well on the bottom. We had a 409-ish top, then we kind of broke above this, right? So I mean, kind of a shorter term level, but an example too of like we had that touch and then we kind of broke again to the upside. Pretty decent break up to the upside too there on SMCI. So just another example I'm seeing in the wild. And I'll look at some of these other in the wild examples here in the chat in a moment as well. But basically, aside from the patterns, because the pattern, like I said, doesn't really matter as long as you do have some levels. Aside from the patterns, what you really want are the consistency. So how many times have we touched it, and how well is it holding, and then how long has the stock price adhered to the support or resistance level? That's also going to be a good candidate to help decide what's a good breakout trade, right? And not all breakout trades look the same. They don't always look like a breakout out of patterns. I think one really good example was NVIDIA earlier. So this one, this was less of an example of a pattern, more example of a clear breakout of support levels. We had that support at that 580 area earlier, then we came back, consolidated around 580, and look where we broke out from, 580. So I think this is another example of it doesn't have to just be in a pattern, as long as you're seeing these levels replicate, seeing lots of consistency there, then that's what, like the more times we touch that level, the more times it holds, the more times you know that it respects the level, and then we're going to push to the upside here. Also, another breakout level here in NVIDIA, that 583-ish. We had that move up there earlier in the pre-market. Then, guess where we had some consolidation? Guess where we were going to pause before that that big pop? Right before 583. So I think that's another really good example here, just seeing that in the wild. Apologize for all of the Mag 7 examples here. That's a lot of what my side charts are, but I would love any other ones as well. Also, another good thing to keep in mind here are entry points. So how do you enter a breakout trade? You really need to kind of look and see when you have prices close to set to close above a resistance level, then you might set a bullish position. And if they're set to close below a support level, the trader can take a bearish position. And I think really that's going to depend. Like, you can kind of switch it up sometimes too, right? Like I think also if you want to trade up into the breakout, kind of like what I did with Meta, like what I'm trying to say is everyone's going to have their own strategies. Yes, like what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to take profits. That's why I reloaded here, so I can take profits every time we get near that 382. And then I'm going to keep a little bit, so then once we have that 382 break, I have a piece for the dream. So like there's different ways of saying it, right? You could set it right at this top level and then get it when it goes above. But for me, for my style of trading, I would find that a bit riskier, right? Like I like to, because I like ranges more, I would probably prefer to trade within that range and then take profits as I get to the top. So I think that's kind of my take there. I think definitely that the cleanest way is like we were talking about trading patterns when you have the profit take, or sorry, not the profit taker, when you have your entry set right as the pattern breaks, but it's really going to depend on kind of what you're trying to get out of the trade and your trading style and your plan going forward there. So I think that's a really good point. But the biggest thing to think about, as Sharif was saying, is the difference between a fake out and a breakout. And so in order to do that, you need to wait for the confirmation. So for example, fake outs will occur when prices open beyond a support or resistance level, and then by the end of the day, they end up winding back down, back within a prior trading range, right? So you really want to make sure that we have confirmation of that range. Also, I have a question about that actually. Yes, ma'am,
go ahead.
So is the reason that shows a bit more weakness is because pre-levels are less important than intraday levels?
Always. That just goes to fact, unless it's a small cap gapper and it's done the majority of its volume in the pre, right? So that's the number one. Number two, closing print money. The money that's hanging out at the end of the day once all is said and done trading-wise, that's the committed money.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like the smart money thing.
I don't want to. I hate to use smart
That's why
money,
I said
dumb money
quotes,
thing because people get upset about that.
Understandably so.
Yeah. I don't want to be called dumb money either.
No.
But retail used to be called dumb money, and then the institutions who had all access to the data and the analysts, this, that, and the other, they were called the smart money. However you feel about that, that's not really what we're trying to get to here. But closing print always the most important for me, Adara. Guys. Apple is pumping 190 and a quarter. We've got 3 beak wetters on this bad boy already. So let's see if Apple can continue to pump up here. NVIDIA high of day. The Fuge just touched high of day. Apple is printing a new high of day, and I'm pleased as dang punch because my my long-term portfolio obviously has the apple in it, to take a phrase from the Obi there. So we'll have to wait and see. If you don't say it again. On Apple? Oh, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not telling anybody my winners anymore. I'm only going to tell you my losers from now on. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to get it jinxed. I'm not telling you my price on Apple. Obi's like, yo, I got such a big account. I'm gunning for your entry price. I'm going to get you stopped out. Nah, putting words in his mouth there, guys.
You're just framing Obi over here.
I
oh
feel
my
bad,
gosh.
Obi's
Oh
awesome.
boy. Oh boy, Strafe. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know. That's got to be one of the best lines on this desk right here. Oh boy.
And it's the excitement too, the genuine excitement. Like
nobody
it's
says it so nonchalant. He's like, oh boy. Right?
That's true too, yeah. It's
but
a good
anyway,
time.
long story short, guys, we got big boy sellers here on Apple. The ask on Apple's really starting to pick up here. I don't know what's going on with Baba. Shout out to Ian. What is going on with Baba? Oh, I'm looking, guys. 12:15. What time is it? 12:25. I don't have an entry on Baba. Alibaba is clearly doing something here. Let's pull it up. Brendo, if you're able, maybe we can find out something on Baba. I don't see anything on my blotter here to explain this big boy move on Baba. 67.5 is where we were at before this breakout. Now we're knocking on the door of 68.80. We're at 68 3/4 right now. Baba is absolutely pumping to the high side here. 1 and almost 1/4%. There goes Baba coming into 69. Very close on $69. We're about to break $69 here on Baba. I still don't see an entry. Anybody in the chat that has a news item on Baba, just tag me in that. I'd love to know. I don't see anything in my blotter. I'm getting now notifications that Baba's spiking up, but no explanation for why it's moving. Baba's moving big, 1.5% Adara, and 69 just got blown through.
Yeah, that's crazy look there. So I'm just trying to take out part of this meta position. If we get back to that 380, 130, because we held it really well. I'm getting a little bit nervous here. But also, I don't know why I sounded vaguely British there. I'll go back to the lesson at hand here. I said that and I was like, I need to address this.
That's fine.
But yeah, so basically,
everything's flying from, it's got to be China. Sorry to interrupt you, Adara. It's got to be China related. PDD just absolutely flew off that 141 bottom. It's at 143 1/3. This is, Brendo's telling me there's nothing yet, basically saying bottom fishing chatter possibly here on Twitter, but this looks to be like a China-specific thing. JD.com also popped up. Baidu is popping up. Let's see Li Auto. Not that I know I care anymore, but yeah, it's popping up as well. China names are all popping up, likely China-related. Adara.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely cool look there. Also weird because a lot of these Chinese EVs, especially, down yesterday. I realized after I said it like that, down. But yeah, basically, or not down yesterday, sorry, down this morning on news that, or I guess China's released talks of plans to stop expansion or slow expansion of their EV industry.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely something of note there, but I guess it must be something wider going on with China, especially if these other ADRs.
Again, I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's okay.
17.3 coming in hot and heavy here, basically on the future. Now, it's basically the decision has to be made whether we take it out here because the market's absolutely flying to the high side of Dara. 590 is $1 away now on NVIDIA. We just touched a new high of day, 17.295 on the future, moving right back down now into 17.280. Sorry to keep interrupting you, but this is all breaking news stuff.
Yo, the market, the market waits for no person. So please keep it coming. Like if there's market news, that definitely matters more. Absolutely. Also, I did take part of that position of Meta out at 380, 130. I'm thinking I might just take the whole thing out here because we're having a really hard time breaking above that level. Like if you look at these candles, that is rock solid. So this might be an example of a fake out, which brings us back to our lesson. Trades that kind of look like they're going to be breakout trades that don't really come to fruition, and that's why sometimes you might want to wait to enter until we have like more confluence, I guess, more proof of that fake out. And so you need to wait for confirmation. For example, fake outs will sometimes occur when prices open beyond like we were saying, right, beyond a support or resistance, then close below, and that's because of that pre-market levels are going to be kind of, I guess, less less efficient, as we were saying. Sorry, I forgot we just had that conversation there. And a lot of traders are going to be really looking for breakouts with above average volume as confirmation, or wait toward the close of a trading period to make sure that prices will sustain the levels they've broken out of. Sometimes, like, what I'll do is I'll wait for an extra candle of confirmation, you know what I mean, to make sure we're making the move we think we are. Also, actually, I'll show Meta yesterday, because there was sort of a breakout trade here, and I can kind of talk about why I entered where I did. So that would be, it was this, here, it was right at the bottom here. So why I got in here was because I saw this level, so we had previous level, we had some, just shy of 373 was clearly a level in Meta. We saw it yesterday, right? We had that hold yesterday. Then we had the hold in earlier, right after the open. Then we come and we hold this level for quite a while. We're starting at 1255, then around that 120. So what I'm looking for entries, I'm noticing we're holding this candle really well. We're kind of having these failed wicks to the downside, pretty flat in the day, and that's when I kind of decide to enter, right? So then, and then also another thing for breakouts is you want to look, like, in case it doesn't go all the way, where you're going to take some profit, right? So this is something where I ended up doing a bit of a fat finger moment and got out some of the position far too early. But then the rest of my profit taker, I decided I was going to take out at that 330, 350 or 370, 350. You know what I mean? Because that was a previous level. So again, with breakouts, what we're talking about with breakouts being super important is the more times you touch a level, the more importance that level can have. So if I see previous levels, that's where I want to take it out on the way up with breakout trades. We were talking about different points that actually leads me to exit some breakout trades, different ways to plan them, right? So when you're planning target prices, you really want to look at the stock's recent behavior. So in this case, what I did with Meta is I looked at intraday levels, what were our levels, how do I want to get out here? Do you know what I mean? But also, as Sharif was saying earlier, another thing you can do if you have a pattern is you can kind of measure the breakout. Or if there's past breakouts of this, how did we do? Especially with that NVIDIA 500, you can look at the behavior going into it and see, okay, if we do have that break to the upside, because NVIDIA had broken 500 a few times before and then just skirted back below. How much push up are we going to have? How do I plan my profit takers, right? Because especially if you're going to trade a breakout, they get a little herky-jerky, so you want to have some kind of little willy-nilly, right? So you want to have some kind of plan, I guess, for your exit there. So I think that's pretty important. Another thing, too, is if you want to calculate recent price swings and average them out to get a relative price target. So this was a question I had for Sharif earlier. I said, so is that intraday? And you were like, well, no, it's like wider price swings. And NVIDIA 500 continues to be a really good example for this whole lesson. We're just going to keep bringing this up because that was such a good example of a breakout. Although there have been so many good intraday breakouts as well.
Wow, Apple. Oh my goodness. We are flying on the future. We're flying on Apple. I'm ending my futures trade right here. Wow, wow, wow. What a move up on the future. Wow, that was a 100-point winner there on the future.
Congrats.
That just absolutely flew to the high side. Adara, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we are getting rare midday volatility today. We just moved 100 points on the future midday, Adara.
That's crazy.
And we don't typically do that. So we're out of the futures trade. We broke 17.3. That was a big boy trade. Apple is still going, Adara. It just broke through that $0.50 level again. Now 190.55 HOD on AAPL. Meta curling. And we just broke actually through 590 on NVIDIA, 590.88 HOD. Adam says the Dixie is getting crushed, supporting equities, which have VWAP. Adara, what a day it's been today.
What a day it has been indeed. Yeah, I'm just trying to get out of the rest of this Meta because I was talking to Rock Doc about the chat in this as well. Meta not really as strong as these other NQ names. We're having these big moves to the upside, and Meta's kind of meh. Right? Like we had that nice look earlier. This might be an example of a fake out. In a way, I'm obviously not happy the trade didn't go as well as it could have, but I'm also happy we can kind of show like an example of a breakout that didn't come to fruition, right? Because we did end up having these kind of lower highs. So in that case, if you end up in this situation, and I mean, maybe you wouldn't, because to be fair, like I said, this was definitely a bit of a riskier position getting involved going into the breakout. But definitely, just consider de-risking, consider where you're taking your profits. You know what I mean? So I think that's all really important as well, just kind of reacting while you're in the trade, right? Because we're talking about where to exit with profit here.
Yes, ma'am.
But basically, you just want to look at the range and using that recent price action for your price targets, as I was talking about with that Meta trade from yesterday. But what happens if you exit with a loss? So it's really, you kind of need to know when a trade has failed. And I appreciate the way that you worded this, Sharif, because I learned a lot from that. Like, this is where the trade is no longer valid. You have to have those levels in your head. So, for example, this meta short are
and
long.
it's a crappy feeling.
Yeah.
It's a crappy feeling.
It doesn't
but
feel good.
You have to accept it. Yeah.
Right? But I think the thing is, and I appreciate you saying that too, right? Because it's like, no one's like, oh, my trade lost, right? Like, I know I'm in the sim still, so it's a bit different, but I still like to take this as seriously as if it's real money because I really want to learn.
You really should too, because it's the only way you're gonna, wrap your mind around things.
Exactly. I know, like, I know the mental element's going to be different, but I feel, if you have the mindset going into it, right? And I say this all to say that you really, I like having a plan going in so that I know. So this meta trade, if we have a decisive VWAP break, I'm out. Do you know what I mean? Although I would like to take some profit at the 381.25 if we can get it. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is, like, you have to have this plan, especially with breakouts. Where does it go wrong? Where is it no longer valid? I think that's really important. I think that's a really good way of putting it as well. So I appreciate that. And it's also, after a breakout, old resistance levels can act as new support, and old support levels should act as new resistance. And this is really important to consider because it's an objective way to determine when a trade has failed. So it's the same with Sharif, with that lower. If you make a lower high, then that's invalid, right? Same with these breakout trades. If there's previous support that's no longer holding, you have to say sayonara. And I think that's a good way to put it as well. And then also, after a position has been taken, you kind of want to use the old support or resistance level as a line in the sand to close out a losing trade. Also, bye-bye meta. Maybe I'll see you later.
Holla at your boy.
Pardon?
Holla
at your boy. Cash me outside, how about that? I mean, yeah, you can cash me outside meta, how about that? Because we're out of this trade. Have to say I'm very happy that I did not take any losses here, especially because it was a different style of trading for me. Because I didn't really scalp this very much. I scalped part of my position out the first time, but the rest of it I held a bit longer.
It looks like you're destined to be a range trader with that kind of trade.
Thank you. That was kind of my plan with it. It was originally going to be a range scalp, and then I held a little piece for the dream.
I like it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Shout out to Brenkles. Guys, we're pumping here on Apple. 190.55 HOD. I've got my beak wetter at the high of day right now. We've been flirting with this 50-ish area for a little bit. It's been higher highs and higher lows on AAPL. We had some initial volatility come in on the Mag 7 in the future. Once we broke through 17.3, we've now reclaimed 17.3 after tanking below 17.28 with a 17.310 high of day. Let's see if we can hold 17.3. It's going to be really important, I think, for these Mag 7 names if we want the up and to the right trend to continue, for us to hold above 17.3 and not give up the ghost, as my friend Neil likes to say as well. So here is the look at the Mag 7. The Amazon is also catching a bid. It held beautifully. Pivot point, that's the green dotted line. Say again, Obi? Obi is just like, yo, 153, bro. I mean, it's at 154.5 right now. One can Nob, and Nob had it written. He had a disappointed Obi. No, man, shake it off, my boy. We held pivot point, fantastic. What's the next trade, he says to me. Yeah, I love that. I love that. The trend is your friend, Obi, and what's the next trade? Those are your two best sayings, I got to say. And then, obviously, the comical ones, oh boy, and
there's a lot of good sayings.
Once, and there are several that are good, right? But with respect to actually trading axioms or philosophy, I would say, what's the next trade? The trend is your friend. So yeah, I'm digressing, but Amazon is pumping up, guys. 154.60. Amazon is making high of days as we speak. Yes, it is. We are about to get to that pre-market high on AMZN. That was at 154.75. We are at 154.70 now. Lots of strength on Amazon, lots of strength on Apple. There goes Apple. We get to fill out 55s. New high a day on Apple now, 58s. The market's pumping. Mag 7s are pumping. Tesla's at VWAP. Meta awoke, Adara. Lots of good stuff happening here. It is a nice day to be along today on the market. Look at Apple go into 2/3. We're going to wet our beak there as well and let this bad boy run. Sorry, I told you guys that I would look at, I told Nick Dub that I would look at W. I will look at W. Weight Watchers today.
Oh, that was Wayfair.
Wayfair, pardon me, that's WW. Wayfair, thank you guys, is in the news today, sadly, for layoffs. But, Sadly, that has a way of making the stock go higher. We will cover that in a second, Adara, but right now we got to keep our eye on the future, on the Mag 7, because that's what's moving at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, this meta trade, I mean, I'm out of it now. That we did actually pop back to 382 and then reject again. I don't really know if I want to get re-involved in this. I have to say I'm just pretty happy that this turned out in and of itself. But another trade I was in earlier that was a bit more ill-fated, that's kind of coming back into an area of interest for me, is Disney. Like, talk about levels here. I tried to get involved in this because I thought it was curling up. We were not curling up. We instead curled down. So I exited the House of Mouse. But I do like this 9180 hold. Support here, then we come back to 9180, hold it like a glove, come back, swoop to the upside. I really need to see a more decisive break, though, because this is around where I entered that long the first time, which makes me a bit nervous. We might come back down. I'm going to be keeping my eye, though. If we fail this 92.10 again, I'm getting in on a short. Also, M. Allen in the chat here making a very good point. Opie hasn't said embrace the fugazi in a long time. It's a good point. That's another trading, I love the word axiom that you use there, another trading axiom phrase there, sorry.
You're not going to just drop axiom.
Oh, you dropped it first.
Did I?
You did.
I didn't even notice.
You dropped it first.
Oh, my bad.
It's
like
not your bad.
Words I don't even notice.
Yeah, we're just all word of the day.
Dara's doing the cash thing. Then the Katina man isn't here, but that doesn't mean we can't drop the cash and spend the money and stuff. We've got it all here. He's here in spirit, baby. Oh, there he is. What's up to the Katina man? He's with the fam today. I think his daughter has some sort of hockey thing.
Yeah, I think he posted something on Twitter of him.
Did he?
Like, yeah, he was like happy traders. He looked like he was very warm, which I'm guessing means he's at a rink.
Yes,
that would be my interpretation of that.
Ironically enough, though, the last few rinks I've been in haven't been cold.
That's interesting. I haven't been in a rink in a very long time.
Oh yeah, we go a lot. Yeah, well, because my cousins, well, they're not my niece and nephew because he's my cousin. So
okay.
Would that
second
make
cousins?
Them? He's not my second cousin, but his children play hockey, so I'm there a lot for their games. What would I call them? My second niece and nephew? Out. What would that be called if they're my cousin's children? No.
If anyone knows, let us know, please.
Yeah, I know. No. I don't think that's it. It's
Jack's saying there's no name for it.
There's no name for it, says Jack. Second cousin. It's not second cousin, guys. Second cousin is the children of my mother's first or my father's first cousin.
Okay, you're right. That is true. Okay.
First removed, second removed, says the Chilean Nightmare. I think he might be right on that, actually.
Yeah, some other people are echoing that.
Look at everyone's chiming in now, eh? Your cousin. Calm down, Neil. It's not your cousin. I love how he capitalized it, too. Like, it's your cousin, bro. Chicago 1807, also vehement in his opinion or their opinion. Second cousins. I don't know about that, guys. I don't think so, but... guys, I don't have China news yet. I'm not really sure what's going on, but Neil was just talking in the chat there about BABA coming into that possible $70 level again. It's up 1.84%. PDD, no slouch as well. A knock on the door of that 144. It's up 1%. I'm not sure what to account for the move. I'm not getting anything yet on my blotter. Once we do get something, we will let you know right away, guys. Kyle, come on, bro. You're killing me, Kyle.
Oh, my God.
These are children,
Oh,
Kyle.
my God.
These are children. Who is on the podcast today, Ask Anurag. It's the Katina Man and the Brendo. Make sure to check it out. Tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m., the pod, 9 a.m., says Ram Ram. Sorry, Ram Ram. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., the pod, the Katina Man, the Brendo. Oh, look at them hit it over and over. Make sure to check that out. Whether, Ram Ram's trying to throw me off my game. She's got 9 a.m. written right there. Get her.
Is it 9 or 10?
That's the Chilean nightmare. He's like, I didn't do anything. It's Ram Ram. Make sure to check it out tomorrow, whether on Spotify. What's the Apple podcast? What's it called? The app for the podcast on Apple phone. Whatever, man. Wherever you get your podcast, get it tomorrow. Thank you. Apple Music, get your... There's a podcast app, right, for Apple devices. I'm pretty sure. Well, it just takes a quick look here. There, POD.
It might be
yes,
Apple.
It's called Podcasts. It's a purple app. Make sure to get it tomorrow at 9 a.m., guys.
Yeah, and also YouTube. I like watching it on YouTube so that you can see them. That's how I like.
Yeah?
I like consuming the
that's
podcast that way.
Well, Spotify allows you to download the video as well. You didn't know that?
I didn't
Oh,
know
you don't
that.
have Spotify. You don't care about Spotify.
It's not that I don't care. I have sometimes I use free
It
Spotify.
is 10 a.m. No, but Brendo just messaged me. He said, we changed it. Seriously, it's 10 a.m. The banner is wrong. We're going to fix the banner. 10 a.m. tomorrow, the pod, the Brendo, the Katina, man. Get it.
Thank you. That was a very succinct summary there. I'm very excited to watch. Yeah, and thank you, Brendan, for clarifying that as well via Sharif.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, yeah, just to kind of finish the lesson here a little bit because we've gotten very sidetracked. What a market
today. I love
it's been an exciting day.
Yeah.
But basically, like you said, you have to identify the right candidate and make sure that this is something ripe for a breakout. And then especially if it's at a key level, like NVIDIA at 500 kind of writes itself. Apple at 190 kind of writes itself. Shout out to Sharif for that trade that you're still in. You know what I mean? So like, make sure you have a candidate, especially if it's at a really important level.
Yes, ma'am.
The more confidence you have, the better. Then you want to wait for the breakout. Just kind of sit there.
My bad.
My bad. Just sit there waiting at the like at the perch, at the stoop, ready to strike. Then you really just want to set a reasonable profit taker, a reasonable objective. If you want to take a trade, you need to understand where it's going, or you won't know how to exit the trade. That's why trading a breakout makes me a bit nervous, and I'm a bit more comfortable trading into a breakout, something like Meta. Like I'll pull up Meta again. I was talking to Rock Doc about this in the chat. I don't have too much FOMO because I'm just happy I was able to kind of take some profits out here. But basically, I was just trying to take it up to the range before we break out. Do you know what I mean? So in case we don't break out, then you still have some profits. And I'm just saying this to just kind of talk through. That was my strategy. But the point is, if you're going to trade involving a breakout, especially if you have a range as tight as Meta's range, I think stuff to keep in mind here, right? So I think that's a good point there. Also, allow the stock to retest. And this is something I did the first time and then didn't really do on my reload here. Once the stock breaks the resistance level, old resistance becomes new support. Or I guess this is once it breaks out too, but also I think as you're coming up into a breakout area, I think that's also important. Once we break support, old support becomes new resistance, and you really need to have it prepared to test that level. As Sharif was saying though, that's not always gonna happen. NVIDIA didn't retest. So just because something doesn't retest too, I mean, like, power to you if you're in a stock that breaks a level, especially something as significant as NVIDIA 500 and it doesn't retest, then that's also something worth noting as well, right? But also, one of the most important things, Sharif said it earlier, I think it's really important, know when your trader pattern has failed. If it actually does break through previous support or resistance, depending on what kind of trade you're in there, this is where the breakout patterns failed. It could have been a fake out. Maybe it just doesn't even break out as much as you thought it would. You have to have your plan to exit set out ahead of time, and then you just have to know where to hold them, know when to fold them, and then just say au revoir, sayonara, and leave the trade. And I think that's really biggest piece of importance here. And last but not least, make sure you pack your patience. Shout out to Sharif. You want to be patient in a breakout trade, waiting for that breakout to the upside or waiting for your profit target. Looking at past levels, also maybe for the profit targets, as we said as well. Measure the breakout from the pattern. Lots of different ways to kind of look at that there. And then make sure you exit at that target once you've packed your patience for the road and that has broken up to the high side or the low side, depending on if you're short or a long.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, Paris principles, know when to walk away, know when to run. Thank you for finishing that for me. Much appreciated. JB Harris saying, never get too greedy. Much agreed. Much agreed.
Yeah.
Yes, there. But no,
Remember
I do
that
agree.
week that we talked about fear and greed, the psychology of trading?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of overlap between the two feelings.
Oh,
I gotta
yeah.
tell you the truth, right? So FOMO, a lot of these things that these emotions, human emotions that you kind of have to get accustomed to when you're trading. They're just part and parcel of the entire game.
Absolutely.
Are we done the lesson?
We are done the lesson,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Had fun going over that, and hopefully we got a little bit out of it and some
Yes, ma'am.
live examples of breakouts. 'Cause
We
it's
will
really
be
good.
restarting in about 15 or 20 minutes. So if you're just coming back, we are talking about, or just joining us, I should say, we are talking about breakout trading today. We've got some rules for you that you can follow. some things to consider when you are looking for that breakout trade and how to categorize, how to search for different stocks that are primed for breakouts. We'll be talking a little bit about that. But right now, what we're looking at is these markets because the market is awfully strong today. The NQ is up over 1%. The ES, a little bit behind it, 0.2% on the ES. The Dow up half, and the Russell continues to have a bad 2024. The Russell was absolutely outperforming the NQ and the ES in the later stages of 2023. You had everybody talking about, rotation out of the Mag 7, the large caps, the mega caps into some of these small caps. That really hasn't translated into 2024. We'll have to see if, February or whatever is a better month for the Russell. But the Russell's down 0.25% today, completely counter to the NASDAQ and the ES. So we'll keep a watch on that. Let's look at the futures here because we got long the future at 17.2 and we rode this bad boy for the break of 17.3. So we're waiting now to see whether 17.3 can hold, right? So we did the wick dance with 17.3, but we only had a couple of breaks to the high side. We got as high as 17.317 1/4. But right now we're below 17.3 again. So we haven't taken the level with any, decisiveness. So let's keep watching here to see if we can maintain that level. That probably has some effect on the on the Apple trade that I'm in at the moment. We got 3 red candles on the 5-minute chart on Apple, owing probably to the weakness here at the 100-point level on the future. But we're gonna have to wait and see what we get. I know I keep saying that a lot, but it's the way it is, right? So here's the look at some of the Mag 7 names. You can kind of just glean Apple and Amazon and Nvidia look like they are the strongest of the bunch. Tesla looks awfully weak. Meta was strong. Now it seems to be a bit consolidative, holding VWAP though. So it's a stronger look on Meta, up 1.44. That's no slouch. Microsoft though, kind of dead money today, especially in front of that 400. We're looking for that 400 break. When Obi sat down today, the first thing he said was Microsoft 400. I said to him, "Are you shorting that?" He's like, "No." Right? I'm like, well, and then he basically laid out his plan. He had different approaches depending on what happened, but it looks like Microsoft might be taking the day off today. No real volume, no real price action here on Softy. It is above VWAP. It is positive on the day. If you took that 394 dip, you printed. You printed a couple of bucks. 394 is not a random level on Softy. It is yesterday's closing print. You got a double bottom off that level. Every dip into 394 has been bought up. So the buyers are there on Softy. They're just not there enough to.
I was going to say, aren't you in there?
Hold on. Obi wants me to guess where he's long on Softy. I'm going to go ahead and say 394 and a half. He was there earlier. And he got stopped out. 394.06. My man has bottom wick on Softy. Technically, the low of the day, guys, is 393.50, but look at that. That's a one-off event. And look where the closing print on that candle was. Hit the banks for my man Obi. He'd like to have more sizage, but that's,
Sizage.
Yeah, well, that's it. I'm not repeating that, Obi.
You just stop.
This is a sick Friday today.
This is a good Friday.
Yeah, today's a good Friday. We're having a lot of fun. But yeah, Softy guys just broke through 396. The high today is 396.30. So there's all sorts of strength possibly coming here on Softy, even though it was quite consolidative. We are above 17.3 again on the future. Let's see if we can take the HOD. We're about 5 points away right now from high day Adara as we continue to hold above 17.3. This might be the wick shimmy dance from the top, not from the bottom, because any dips into 17.3 right now looks like Adara are getting bought up. So let's not, call it too quickly here, but this looks awfully strong today on the NASDAQ, 1.2% to the good, and AAPL awfully close to that high a day again. I know I'm just jumping from one thing to the other, but that's kind of what you do here when you're looking at multiple names on trading. We're looking for 190 and 3/4 touch next on Apple before I wet my beak up 1%.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of things to look at here. Disney still having me in a state of distress, I guess, putting the DIS in distress over here. It's a dismal. Thank you, Fabian, for that. Saying Disney is a dismal. I really enjoyed that. Okay, and I think Disney, like I said, these levels are really clear. That 92.25 area, and then that 91.80. No, what makes me think, though, what makes me not really want to short this down, though, it makes me want to kind of do what I wanted to do earlier, go long, is look at these failed wicks of selling to the downside. Twice now we have these candles where we have these wicks down and then we kind of close them back up. We could pop to the upside here, but then again, that's what I thought we were doing earlier when I got in this long, and that didn't really work. I might wait until see what we do at VWAP. My other area of interest is going to be this insane consolidation around that 92.5. And then, of course, I shouldn't, you know, I think it's plain as day here on the chart. Not that 93.2, couple closes around there, also of interest to me. That would be about $1 up from this area. So I'm just going to keep my eye on it, but I don't want to be too hasty. At least the one thing that's nice about this trade is you know exactly where the levels are. If you fall off of this cliff, you're off this cliff, right? So I think that kind of helps fix, you know, kind of the trading there. At least gives me a little bit of levels. That's why I like trading ranges. You're mentioning me with ranges. I like ranges because they tell you where to go. They tell you where you're supposed to be.
It's nice, eh?
It's
like
a rule.
You have defined levels. And then if you really want to give yourself a little bit of a breather, you can give yourself 5 pennies, depending on the stock and the price of the stock, obviously, and the volatility. 5, 10 pennies below the range, right? So you don't get wicked out. Like you saw what happened to me today on Apple. So my initial entry on Apple, Adara, remember we were trying to get that VWAP hold, guys? And then what ended up happening is we got a perfunctory break of VWAP, right? And I didn't have enough of a buffer, but you know, what could I do? Like, look where it went down to 189.30, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I lost about 50 pennies. If I had held it to the bottom, I would have lost 50 pennies, right? So sometimes the range trade does bamboozle you, depending on the name. Of course, you're going to learn its tendencies and how much room to give it, right?
Yeah, no, I think that, and I appreciate you saying that. We were talking about this as well recently. I don't remember if it was here or off camera. I think maybe a bit of both, but just setting those exits, especially with these mega caps, with these spreads, right? Like I said, with Meta, you really have to plan your, because I've been weirdly trading a lot of Meta this week. I don't know why. You really have to kind of plan your exits accordingly, because you might not get with the spread like Meta, you might not get exactly where you want, right? So you have to kind of, maybe instead of going at the whole dollar level, you want to get out at the 99-cent level. That's something I've been doing to kind of mitigate my stress about these whole dollar levels on these mega caps. Speaking of whole dollar levels on mega caps, Meta saying swooping past this, swoop, there it is. This 382 area, we have a breakout. I'm so happy on breakout day. We do have a breakout. I'm not involved in this name anymore, but I'm still pretty proud of my exit and the reload here, I do have to say. Nice breakout, I will draw it.
Anytime the green candles are below the red candles, you're good to go.
Oh, yeah?
Well, it's not a hard and fast rule, but your buys are below your sells.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you mean, right? So we're like kind of engulfing.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it took me a moment there.
It's all good.
No, that's...
Chilean nightmare. It's fun.
No, this is a really nice look, though, here on Meta. Really clean breakout trade. Congrats to anybody who is still in Meta. I think this is a really nice move above that 382. I might be interested in seeing what we do if we get back to this 381, our 70 area, which is kind of our top for a while there, because as we said earlier, you know, sometimes you're not going to retest of levels. That was one of the things in the breakouts. And really, I would watch for that retest. Be prepared for that retest. Don't be too scared of that retest, but definitely have your profit target set if you are in this beautiful Meta long. Congrats to all that are. Also,
I just want to mention one quick thing before you go on. The Obi, the One, the Kenobi, just let me know right now. SPY, SPY, the ETF for the S&P, all-time highs. So this was the previous all-time high, January 2022, before the market started tanking. Remember what happened November 2021? The word the phrase not transitory was used on Capitol Hill by our friend Papa Powell, and we all know what the market did after that. So previously it was 479.98. That was the high. Now, 480.11, it is an intraday wick, but it is, number one, an all-time high. We'll have to wait and see whether we get an all-time high closing print, relative to that January 2022 look. But the SPY, all-time highs right now for anybody interested in the futures, and more specifically, the ETF futures on the SPY and the Qs and whatnot, Adair.
Yeah, it's hard to spy any weakness on those right now, I have to say. Really nice look there. Yeah, that was low-hanging fruit. I deserve that. I deserve that. But no, also still strong on Meta. I also want to look at NVIDIA. I know Nima Ahmadi's been mentioning NVIDIA a bit. I was kind of curious about NVIDIA off of that. This is my 9-day EMA, that really clean bounce off that 587.50. But what made me nervous here too is we did have this kind of failed wick to the downside. This candle at 588 made me really nervous. Also, our inability to break that 589 makes me nervous. NVIDIA, honestly, it's one of those names I'm even so hesitant to give you any thoughts on because I have no idea where it's going to go. That being said, I think it has, as Sean was saying yesterday, I believe, it kind of has always been right to short NVIDIA as of late, but who knows when that can change. These mega caps do have minds of their own. We're going to have to see if it, if it's NVIDIA or out NVIDIA. I think for now, though, that 590 break is of interest. I don't think we'll be talking about NVIDIA 600 today, but maybe I'll Jim Cramer that and it'll happen, who knows? Because this is, really strong on the day. We flew through 580 with a swiftness. We're knocking on the door of that 590. And again, this is another example of a breakout. Like I said, I was trying to get involved in that 580.50, and alas, I was not invited into the party. They set out with you, so I could not enter the NVIDIA long here. But that 580.50 I like because look at that consolidation we had at that 580, 580.50, right? We had the decisive break to the upside. And then the other area we had a nice breakout from was our other area of consolidation of 583. So just really, again, showing examples of the more times you touch a level and the more significance there is of that level earlier in the day and in the past, I think it can be important, even with something NVIDIA that's treading in all new waters because it is at all-time highs, you can still look at intraday levels and find some wiggle room there and some areas of entry. And I think this is a good example. I hope that makes sense. I hope I've explained that in some way. Basically what I would say, Nima, is I would be very, very cautious. And like we said, with all these breakout trades, because I would say NVIDIA just keeps breaking out. You know what I mean? It is not broken out in a while now, right? So I would say just be really cautious. Have your beak wetter set along the way and also have outs and know exactly when you want to exit. Know when the trade is not, as Sharif says, valid anymore. Because that would be my key thing.
Hold them and know when to fold them?
Yeah, that was why we were saying that earlier in the chat as well. But yeah, I think this is a really interesting look here on NVIDIA. And so, I would just say be very cautious, Nima. I don't think it's a short, though, for sure. I think the long is the right direction. I'll give you that credit, absolutely. Yeah, but I would just be so cautious. It's so high on the day.
Guys, I'm still not seeing an explanation for why BABA is up 2 1/5, almost 2 1/4 right now. BABA is almost at highs. I mean, look, BABA's tanked lately. We've seen what happened to these Chinese ADRs, but it's up for no reason. I'm still not seeing an explanation for why these Chinese ADRs are running. Nonetheless, they are running, but be careful with them because, I don't have any proof of this, but I always have the sneaking suspicion that they are being traded by programs. They just seem so program specific because of where they hold up at key levels, and I just feel like they're not as organically traded as some of these other names. So just putting that out there, but obviously trade it as you like. Guys, back to Apple here. I've got a beak wetter set up at 190.69. We have a 190.65 high of day. I'm looking for that move into the $0.75 if we can here on Apple, because we made a new high of day now on the future, helping propel Apple upwards. 17.236 is where we're at now on the future, and we're awfully close. We made a new high of day on Apple as well. 66s, 68s incoming. There's 68. Can I get 69s to get that fill, baby? The auctioneer in me is coming out. And we're awfully close to that 69 level. We're printing 69s on the ask, but we're not crossing on the bid. We're going to wet our beak here, hopefully, if it's able to cross that. Maybe not right now as it comes back down. We'll pack our patience. We'll see whether or not we can get the fill, but all sorts of strength today on the on the Mag 7 names as well as the Future. Anurag, does RSI, Relative Strength Index, play a role during breakouts? Example, if RSI on the 1-minute chart is around 90, when the breakout is about to happen, it's most likely to be a failed breakout. No, I would not make that correlation. I would not say because the RSI is extended in the overbought area of its whatever. In the overbought area
of its life.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that at all. I've often seen RSI hang around 100 for prolonged periods of time, intraday, mind you, intraday, not on the daily, and the stock continues to go up. So to answer your earlier your first question though, which was, does RSI have a role to play in breakouts? You know, I think it may, but I don't think it's a determining factor. It's going to be like on the way to the evidence type thing, where you're looking at, obviously, RSI to be above that 70, 80 level, right? Especially if you see a lot of volume coming in. You want to know where the volume is coming from. So I would definitely keep an eye on RSI. RSI is not an indicator that I use intraday personally. I use it more for my swings than for long terms, but I don't think that you should look at the RSI as, you know, if it's in the overbought territory that it's going to be a failed breakout. I wouldn't make that correlation, but good question. Jay Lee, I was asking Jay, why do we get shorts on TQQ here? Because he was asking Neil and I whether it was time to buy TQQ. I asked him why. He's like, reasoning is simple. This is a bull trap in my humble opinion, just given that inflation is already printing higher. We're not having rates drop anytime soon. Thank you, Jay, for your explanation. I think that your explanation makes a lot more sense for a longer term hold, like a swing, 3-4 weeks, a month. I don't know if the interest rates, because of the higher for longer, is going to play intraday, right? Because I think, you know, like we were making an example yesterday of prices reverting back to moving averages as a magnet. If we have something like 17.3, 17.4 that, you know, helps buoy the stock up, it may not be looking at what you're looking at, which is, you know, the higher for longer kind of thesis, and whether or not we get rate cuts in the first half of 2024 or the latter half. And also keep in mind, Jay, that the market is always very forward-looking. Some say 12 months, some say 6. So whether or not, you know, we get the rate cuts, that could all be discounted already into the market price. So don't hold, I would just say don't hold too much to that thinking. Seasonality is the reason, says Tonal Tunes. Okay. Nick Dubb, I promised you that I would look at Wayfair, and I didn't, so let's look at it. All right. What do we got on Wayfair here? All right, so we're pulling back on Wayfair. Obviously, it was a big move up earlier in the day. Guys, chart, as we pumped up on the news that they were going to be sadly letting people go and offloading some people off their balance sheets. Now I would say the meat of the move has been had, and it looks as if now we're making lower highs and lower lows. We're also rejecting off that VWAP level. So the curls back up into VWAP, Nick Dubb, are now being met with renewed selling. That happened twice already. I'd say that 154.50 seems to be holding up as a bottom. Say 155-ish, 154.50 in that area. I would say pack your patience, see where this one runs, but I wouldn't take it unless it was able to break the downward trend that it's on. It'd have to make higher lows and higher highs for me to want to get involved in this name. I don't see personally anything on it at the moment, sadly. Maybe that changes. We'll have to wait and see. Back to Apple as it knocks on the door again. Oh, geez, Louise, of that 190.69, but we're not getting the print quite yet on Apple. And I'm seeing some topping tail candles here show up on the 5-minute. And you know what topping tail candles are often indicative of? Renewed shorting or aggressive shorting. Look at these two candles here. They're both showing topping tail tendencies, but they're not on a closing basis. So let's see what we get with this candle. If this one ends up being a topping tail as well, maybe we'll de-risk a little bit. But yeah, the future is not breaking down below 3. Not right now anyway. So the future is holding 17.3, and it's holding it from the high side now. We're some ways away from it. right? It's not like we're 1706, 1705, something like that, you know, just barely above 17.3. No, we've closed it and we've ran away from it by some distance. So we'll have to wait and see what we get there.
Yeah, I think that's a really, I like the top and tail tendencies. I like that. That's a good phrase. I enjoyed that phrase. Also, I have Amazon up here. Shout out to Obi. This Amazon top, that 150, almost 155 is fascinating. Like, look at this. We stick to it like glue. Like these candles even, we're not even really wicking above it. Then we had this really nice swoop below there, had this recovery after not very much consolidation, just a skosh here at this 152. 90, if you had that, yeah, that 153, just a really nice move to the upside. I'd be really curious to see what we do from here on Amazon. Also, I think it was Oscarito in the chat saying NVIDIA breaking down. I get what you mean. It looked like when we touched that that 9-day EMA, it looked a little bit sketchy, but then we did kind of recover pretty nicely. Now it looks like we're kind of doing a bit of a wedge. I honestly think it could go either way in NVIDIA. I am not getting involved. I am a little nervous. Unless I have more kind of confluence, more clarity in this move, I would not like to get involved in NVIDIA. However, one thing I will say for a long case is I do like this failed selling to the selling here on this wick. I do enjoy this bounce off of that 9-day EMA, I really have to say. If we hold this 588.50, maybe take it to, yeah, we did bounce off that 588.50. I was going to say if we had that 588.50, I would maybe take it to 589, but it looks like 589 literally coming and going as I'm speaking. So congrats again to NVIDIA people. Like, this is a really nice look. This is just one of those ones I really think you have to have all of the planning in effect. And I feel like every time I consider entering NVIDIA blows past my point of entrance before I can even make a decision. So maybe that's a sign I'm just not in the mood to trade the stock with this swiftness and volatility today. That is my take on that. Also, Disney, Mark Susi saying that Disney is at VWAP, and I did notice that as well. Yeah, Disney having this really nice long. I was a little bit too scared to enter this, which was definitely my downfall here, because I like that kind of rounded bottom here. I thought this was going to be long. Alas, we did break down at this level. When we had this this movement here, I was considering going long, and then I kind of chickened out. Unfortunately, yeah, I mean, not unfortunately, it's just it was my fault for not entering. But really nice look here. Like I said, another area of interest for me, we're approaching it right now. Disney at this 92.50 area, because this is where we had a ton of consolidation earlier. I'm going to wait and see what we do here. I would go long or short depending on what movement I see. If I go short, I'm taking some profit at 90.20 and at 91.80 because that bottom is way too strong. I would not be trusting that. And then if we go long, obviously I'm looking towards that 93.20. I mean, maybe not obviously, but just like intraday levels, I think that's a really nice look. So that is my take on on the House of Mouth.
All right, let's restart the lesson. Yeah, we're after one, right? We're 110 right now.
Yeah.
So I've got my beak wetter set up on Apple, and if it gets triggered, it gets triggered. I'll be happy, but we'll have to wait and see because right now Apple's really having trouble with that 69 level. So let's just pause the madness for a minute. All right, guys, let's start again. The anatomy of trading breakouts is what we're talking about today. And we've got a couple of great examples. We had the 500 on NVIDIA not that long ago. I believe it was early last week that we could look at. We had the 300 break on Meta from late last year. And we have possibly that 200 break coming in on Apple maybe next week. We'll have to wait and see. Right? So what we're going to be talking about today are different types of breakout trades and kind of like the ABCs of what you can and shouldn't do if you are taking these breakout trades. So what is a breakout trade first and foremost? A breakout is a stock price moving outside defined support and resistance levels with, underline this, increased volume. A breakout trader will enter a long position after the stock price breaks above resistance or enters a short position after the stock breaks below support, okay? And you could call that a breakdown trade, but we're just gonna call them breakout trades to describe both the long and the short, okay? Once the stock trades beyond a price barrier, volatility tends to increase and prices tend to usually trend in the direction of the breakout. And perfect example of that, once NVIDIA broke 500 last Monday, it did not look back. It didn't even give you a retest of that 500 level, which is often characteristic of these breakout trades. You will have a breakout of that defined resistance level only to have it retest after that. And that is kind of the characteristic we sometimes look for, the retesting of that former resistance area to show us that, yes, buyers are going to step up at that former area of resistance, now support, to kind of help buoy the stock to the high side. And so we didn't get that, sadly, with NVIDIA. How do we finding good candidates for breakout? Okay, so just before I go on to that, let me show the Apple trade here. Apple now has made a new high of day. We are through 69. We are at that 3/4 level. My next beak wetter will be likely in the mid 80s to mid 90s. Let's see what we get there, but lots of strength on Apple, riding this one from, I believe, 04s. Nicely in the money right now. Now, finding a good candidate for a breakout trade. When trading breakouts, it's important to consider the underlying stock support and resistance levels. And underlying this part, the more times the stock has touched these areas, I'm talking about support and resistance, the more valid these levels are, and more importantly, and the more important they become, okay? So when you're getting multiple touches at that 500 level like you did on NVIDIA before it broke it, we got a touch in the summer, we got a touch in the multiple times in the fall before we got that decided break early this year. So it was accumulating at that 500 level to break out. And when you notice, if you look on the daily chart at NVIDIA, you're going to see a series of higher lows, right? I'm not trying to say it's an ascending wedge, but the point is every time it retraced, buyers would be there to buoy it up, okay? As prices consolidate, various price patterns sometimes may occur on the price chart. Formations such as channels, triangles, flags are all valuable vehicles when looking for stocks to trade, okay? Aside from patterns, consistency in the length of the time the stock has adhered to its support and resistance levels are also very important factors to consider when finding good candidates. So when we looked at NVIDIA and we saw that there was umpteen amount of touches at that 500 level, it should kind of elevate it in your kind of in your list of good breakout candidates, right? If we've had just a couple of touches, you know, and they're maybe like spaced 6 months apart, you may not be as sure about that flat top, that breakout level on that particular name. So the more touches at that level, the more rejections and the accumulations, the better, okay? I'm just gonna put a beak wetter here on my Apple trade at 85, because what is life without whimsy? Now, taking entry points. Once you find the right candidate, how do you ascertain the entry points? Entry points are fairly a black and white analysis when it comes to establishing positions on a breakout. Once prices are set to close above a key resistance level, a trader will establish a bullish position. However, when prices are set to close below support a level, a trader will take a bearish position. Here's the key thing though. To determine the difference between a breakout and a fake out, and this has happened to me multiple times, wait for confirmation. Well, what kind of confirmation are you looking for? Fake outs, for example, fake outs occur when a price opens above a key support or resistance level, and that usually happens in the pre-market. So we'll see, for example, today, last Monday, NVIDIA was around 495 before it rocketed through that 500 level on the ringing of the bell. And if it had broken 500 in the pre, that could have been a pre-market, is what I mean by pre. That could have been an indication that this was a fake out, right? So what we're looking for is for it to actually go through that during regular market hours, not open that way in the pre-market or find its way there in the aftermarket, okay? We're looking for regular market hour breaks as a possible, indication that it could be a fake out. So for example, fake outs occur when prices open beyond support and resistance levels, but by the end of the day, they end up moving back within the prior trading range, and that's kind of really what we're trying to avoid here. Many traders look also for above average volume as confirmation, or they'll wait for the close to actually determine whether prices will sustain the levels they've broken out of. So they'll wait until, 4 o'clock hits and NVIDIA is still above 500, and then they'll bamboozle their way into the trade the following day. Okay? They want to make sure that that committed money at the end of the day is going to stay in NVIDIA above that 500 level before they commit their own money to the long above 500. Now, once we find the entry points, how do we plan our exits? The two considerations here that we need to account for are where to exit with a profit and when to exit when we know that we're going to have a loser. So, with respect to exiting for a profit, when planning target prices, look at the stock's recent behavior to determine a reasonable objective. So, 500's broken on NVIDIA. So, it's a blue sky setup, or price discovery, as somebody said it earlier in the chat. How do I know how much it's going to run up? I really don't have any idea here. Well, you could kind of look at the range NVIDIA had prior to the 500 breakout. As Neil was pointing out to me this morning, nothing below 400 printed. There was one day it got to 400 and it was bought up immediately. So you could say to yourself, all right, there seems to be about a $100 range here on NVIDIA between 400 and 500. Well, if you had projected a $100 range above that 500, you'd be in the money because NVIDIA is awfully close to hitting 600 bucks. Where are we right now? We're at 588, okay? And we were higher than that. So you're trying to basically look at what was the previous range that the instrument or stock had before it broke out above that key resistance level. And then you're going to project that range above the breakout level, and that's going to be your profit target. You could do that for multiple different ways. If it was a sideways channel, if it was a bull flag, you know exactly how, based on our week on chart patterns, to measure the breakout point for bull flags and to expect where to take profits is basically measuring the length of the bull flag and projecting that from the breakout area. Right? There's many different ways. Go back to the week on chart patterns and you'll know all about that. Okay? So that is one way we can do it. Now, how do we exit for stop loss? Where do we keep our stop loss? It's important to know when a trade has failed. Okay? As important as, okay, I was going to interrupt myself here because I got my beak wetter on Apple. 190.85 is where I got my beak wetter. We are awfully close, guys, to that 191 area. It's almost 1.25% to the good right now on Apple. I'll be looking to probably de-risk everything in front of that whole dollar quite soon. Back to what I was saying. Sorry, it is important to know when a trade has failed. Breakout trading offers this insight in a fairly clear manner. After a breakout, old resistance should act as new support, and conversely, old support should act as new resistance. This is an important consideration because it is an objective way to determine when a trade has failed and an easy way to determine where your stop loss order goes. After a position has been taken, the old support or resistance level line, it should be your line in the sand about where to close out losing trades. So if NVIDIA had broken through 500 only to huadunk and break below that $500, that should be your line in the sand. Be like, okay, no, buyers should have been stepping in at 500 to support the move up. That's where I'm going to get out. Now, that's not going to be 100% accurate. You are going to get bamboozled. Sometimes it is going to break 500 or whatever the resistance level was, and then it's going to go back up only to run 100 bucks. This is not a hard science. It is an art. So you have to kind of, be willing to accept times where these rules are not going to work. I'm never going to tell you with 100% certainty that once a breakout trade is had, it should always never break down below that previous resistance level. And if it does, then it's a failed breakout. No, there are times when it breaks that former resistance, current support, but continues to run thereafter. You could get bamboozled. That's just the way it is. So, in summary, here are the 7 things that you need to consider when you are taking breakout trades. Number 1, identify the candidate. Find the right stock that's primed for a breakout trade. Number 2, wait for the breakout. Don't try to front run the size and get in thinking, that 200 break is inevitable on Apple. I'm going to get in now so I can be 10 bucks in the money when it already breaks out. Wait for the breakout. 3, Set a reasonable objective. The reasonableness of your objective is going to be based upon that particular instrument and how it's traded. So go back and look. What was the range on that particular stock before the breakout? Was it 50 bucks? Was it 100 bucks? Whatever it was, project that forward and put your profit taker there. 4, allow the stock to retest the previous resistance, now current support, i.e. 500 on NVIDIA. Even though NVIDIA didn't come back and test 500, allow it to come back into 500 so that you can get that bounce off and prove to yourself that buyers are stepping in at that price. Okay? Number 5, know when your trade pattern has failed. Be real with yourself. If it has broken down decidedly below that previous resistance, current support, get out. Take the L and walk away. It's not a good feeling, but it's one that you actually have to follow if you want to be a successful trader and not blow up your account. 6, exit trades when the market closes. Okay? I personally don't like to, obviously on this floor, because we're a prop floor, we have to be all out by 4:15 and not a minute after that. But obviously, if you're at home, you can hold things overnight. It's really up to you. And number 7, be patient. Pack your patience on this trade. Allow it to retest and stay true to your rules. If it hits your stop, get out. If it hits your profit target, get out. Maybe you can save a piece for the dream, as long as it's a small piece.
A small piece. just a dash of hope for the dream.
Yes, man. A dash
just like a
of hope.
tiny, like when you have a relative over, like, oh, do you want some cake? Oh, just a sliver. That's the type of piece for the dream you want to save sometimes,
there you
right?
go.
But no, I think I really appreciate all of that. And I think, too, one thing I want to say as someone who's really still new to trading for breakout trades, and this might probably really obvious, it just wasn't to me, so it's like I want to say, too. For example, this move up into 590. So first started trading Adara, September Adara, would have probably tried to get involved right at this 590 break. Now, the thing is, and I appreciate Neil saying this in the chat, gut tells me 590 won't be clean NVIDIA. The thing is, a lot of these significant breaks, probably not. It'll probably break a couple times. Like, we've tried a couple times and we failed it. So I think generally, like we said, that's why you really have to wait to get involved sometimes. You want that confirmation.
Yes,
or like I said, what I like doing sometimes, like what I did with Meta, trading up to the break and then getting out before that break, because we might not get that break.
Yes, ma'am.
Tesla's another one I do that with, because I do not trust Tesla with breakouts, unfortunately. We can be Beslas, but I still feel some stress there. Always. Also, live trading by Trader TV Live, so either Fabian or Ramin here. Number 5, but puts up 4 fingers. It's Friday for real. It is Friday for real, indeed.
Did I actually do that? Did I actually do?
Also,
now I can't even count.
Ramin's Sharif impression is also amazing, I have to say.
I've never seen Ram do an impression of me.
She's what, number 5.
Oh, okay, that. I thought she was like, there was some impression of me she did like behind my back or something.
No,
I need to see this. Okay,
I should have made that clear. No, I just really enjoyed her version of that there. Number 5. But also, I'll talk about this IWM trade, and I need to give a huge props to John Del Senio in the chat for pointing this one out to me. Also, this was a very stressful trade for me. This is the most shares I've ever taken by a significant margin. And part of that is because I fat-fingered my way into it a little bit. This I did not realize I had it set. I need to deal with my settings, but so it put me in automatically. I wasn't just waiting for a little fill. So I had a decent amount of shares. I'm very proud of myself for staying calm, though. I stayed calm. I got in because I liked that we were kind of having this little bull movement to the upside. Also, look at this really flat bottom of this 189.50. We had that move up. John Del Senio did point out that really nice bull, I think you worded it like bull shape movement, I believe, John, in the chat. So I really like that look there. And then basically I started to kind of piece out my profit takers when I noticed resistance. This is very much like old scalp style Adara, scalpulating, looking at the book. I saw a little bit of resistance right above 191, took it out there. Next, just above 191.10, took some of it out there. And then my last big area of profit taker, the whale, if you will, of profit taking for me for this trade was that 190.120 area. I saw that, I said au revoir, and I took it out. I'm pretty happy with that trade, and I think really, you know, the thing is just like, even when you're in a situation that's kind of stressful for you, and when I say you, I mean me, and this is also, I guess, kind of a breakout trade too, right? Just a bit more of a different kind of breakout trade. Another example of taking it, like I said, I like taking these trades to previous highs or previous levels of resistance. That's what I did there. Congrats to you, John Del Senio. LOL, I took 1,000 shares from that bottom. Yeah, I did. Like I said, I was stressed out. I did not take, that was not near my share level. Like I said, still working with smaller share sizes to get comfortable. But yeah, congrats to you, John Del Senio, and thank you very much for pointing that one out. I always appreciate when people point stuff out in the chat. Like, you know, the thing is too is you're not always going to take a trade, but what I like to do is see like, hey, is this something I can take? I love this look in IWM. I have traded IWM on occasion. These little small cap gappers there. So this is a nice look on that, and I'm pretty happy with how this one went, I have to say. Also, yeah, Neil, very much accurate on that NVIDIA call, not necessarily a clean break. But when is it ever, except I was going to say, and then, but 500 happened, so never mind. 500 was a clean break for NVIDIA. But that was also right at open, right? So, and like we were saying earlier, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
The time and the context at which we break out is really important. If you break out with no volume, it's not really going to have the same effect of a breakout.
Right.
NVIDIA breaking out at volume, at open on a Monday, like all of these, you know what I mean? So much confluence. I guess the Monday is less significant, but I thought I'd say it either way. Nice start to the week there for NVIDIA, starting the week above 500, right? So I think all of the context of the move is really important as well.
Yes,
and I think leading up to it, if you have, like, for example, lots of, like, I think this is significant when we had at this 589, this candle to the upside. We've tried at this level, we've struggled. Sellers have overwhelmed buyers. Like, I think these candle wicks, and this is the thing I've really picked up since I've been in the midday, have really helped me understand for breakouts. I mentioned that meta trade from yesterday as well with regards to candle wicks, and even meta today when we were holding VWAP. Look, not once, but twice, not OB thrice, unfortunately. We had these failed wicks to the downside, and we held VWAP so well. We held it like a glove. So I think that's a really nice look there. I just wanted to touch on that because I think a lot of times the failure of, or not the failure, sorry, but I think like just seeing what we do with these candle wicks and interpreting those candle wicks and using that to find more confluence to the upside, I think is really important. John Del Senio, sorry for all the messages. Don't apologize. I mean, we love hearing all the stocks that are moving here.
Yeah.
And I mean, you gave me that amazing IWM call, so much appreciated. Sorry for
all.
And
I was talking smack about the Russ. Like,
oh, yeah?
Not that long ago, I was like, the Russ this, the Russ that. Made me look silly. Now the Russ is up 0.4. The Russ was down 0.3.
Oh, it was.
Something. Yeah, it's like flip the script.
Yeah. Also, to shout out to Every Day I'm Rustling. I think James Dell said that a while ago. I believe it was James Dell a while ago. Every day I'm rustling. Apparently he says hustling like 46 times in that song.
Does he?
Yeah.
Somebody counted, eh?
Yeah. Well, I've read a lot of rap-related literature in my time.
That's very good. Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's really shocked to hear that.
Yeah.
But I've read a lot on that. No, anyways. So I just enjoy that. But yeah.
I'd say it's time well spent.
Thank you. I think so.
Adara, we have been knocking on the door of 191. I don't know if you've noticed here on AAPL. Apple awfully strong, 1.25. We have 190.99 highs, and there's big boy size at the whole dollar level at 191. Let's see if we can blow through that. I was just voicing my opinion to a person in the chat there that I was really disappointed with myself for closing out my future trade at 17.3, because now we're at 17.357. So we've moved up big. There goes Apple through 191. Now we are moving into pivot point resistance level 1. Pivot point resistance level 1 on my chart is at 191.25. I'm gonna hold this piece. I'm not gonna end the trade here because I felt bad about myself ending the trade at 17.3 on the future. I don't want to do that on Apple. I want to hold a piece for the dream, but holding one contract is not the same as holding, some shares, because the volatility and the pips essentially on the contract is a lot more than the move on a few shares over here. So we're holding 119. Look at Apple pump, bro.
Look at NVIDIA pump.
Yeah, NVIDIA's pumping. We're about to hit 591 on NVIDIA. Apple's pumping. What else is pumping? Even Softy. Softy was dead money today, baby. Softy was 394. Now it's 396.59. I gotta tell you, it's Apple and it's NVIDIA's day today. Maybe some other Mag 7 names can start participating, but it's the future. It's Apple, it's NVIDIA. What else do you want? I mean, these are some big boy components, all $1 trillion plus names. And then in addition to the future, yes, we are $1 in the money over now on AAPL, but we're holding a small piece, right? Because all these outs over here, we already wet our beak multiple times. I'm letting this one run until the end. People are yelling about AMD and then Broadcom. AVGO up 4 2/3. AMD up 3 3/4. So lots of strength in the chips. Are you surprised by that?
Well, no, but AVGO is a $1,000 name for
$1,200.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
When I was doing Sector Watch, I was like, oh, AVGO up like 3%, and I thought that was staggering.
Right?
4 1/3. My lord, I know TSM as well. John Del Senia was mentioning TSM, another chip tech related name. Massive move to the upside here. Another, not necessarily a breakout, but this was certainly a key level. And I think the thing is, too, that I think what I've learned today a little bit as well is I think breakouts, they don't always have to be some breakout of a huge pattern, right? Like Meta was a flat top break, and that was significant. But NVIDIA breaking 590, like you could always, as long as you have that kind of consolidation and that tension before it and that coiling and springing to the upside, that's really all you need for a break. And I have to say that TSM, look at the key, how key this level has been at that 113.6. We touch it, and we come back and we bounce off of it again. Once we bounce off it, I think 4 times before we have that nice move to the upside, right? So again, like as Sharif was saying, which I think is really important, the more times you interact with a level, the more significant it is when it pushes to the upside with the viciousness. Speaking of which, NVIDIA also, I'm laughing at Neil in the chat. Well, maybe it was clean. I didn't think it was going to be clean, I have to say, that NVIDIA break. Because like I said, I used to try to get involved in NVIDIA at high of day when I first began trading. Now NVIDIA is knocking at the door at 591. I thought 600 NVIDIA was crazy going into today, but now could it happen? We'll have to wait. We'll have to see what's happening here. Also, a lot of people in the chat mentioning these crypto adjacent names. So let's take a look at Mademoiselle Mara. Shout out to Patrick, who is not sitting down right now, but go Patrick. Mara is really interesting. This is it'll be nice. Like I think key levels, that 16 area could be key. Held that pretty well earlier. Support consolidated a bit, then flew back down. Next, the top of that consolidative range, that 1620 would be of interest. So many of these names going parabolic. Someone in the chat earlier was saying that the chat is at this point the chat is rallying. The chat's going. Lots of movement here, lots of excitement. Let's also another name here, Coin. I wanted to look at Coin. Yeah, Coin doing less than Mara did, but Coin really interesting. Look at that. Sorry, we had that 221 area kind of bouncing around there. Lots of consolidation. Like I said, that flat bottom break we had earlier. Speaking of breakout and breakdown, have some more water here. Now we're kind of coming back into that that 121 area, right, which I think is really interesting. We're going to have to wait and see what talking way too fast over here. What we do here, I think this 121 bounce could be interesting because that was the area from whence we flat bottom braked. PayPal being mentioned here as well from H. Sorry. So that's certainly interesting. Look, we're at that 5.5% area, this break to the upside start. I'm just going to get some water here because I do not know what happened to my...
You want to have my water? I didn't take a sip out of it yet.
Sure?
Here you go. So that's yours. Yeah, there you go. All right, baby. Thank you, Neil. I appreciate you. Man, Neil's a class act, baby. Guys, I don't know what else to say other than Apple's pumping, right? What? You all right? Was there something spicy in there? Adara's crying, guys. I didn't do anything. You guys saw.
Anything.
The Chilean nightmare is like vodka is a good cure for that. Would you like me to bring you some vodka? There's plenty of alcohol in the back fridge. Ask your boy Obi over here. Obi, did you make an LCBO stop today? No?
What do you mean, bro? The party is happening right now.
Obi says the party is happening right here.
I don't need to be anywhere else.
Thank you, Neil. Appreciate you, man. Thank you, Neil. Class act. By the way, did you guys see these? Do you guys know that we have Trader TV water bottles? There's some that are Trader TV, some that are Relota, which is the other company.
I have a Relota and a Trader TV.
Adara, yeah, you're muted.
I have one of both.
Guys, what I'm talking about the alcohol is this trading floor has a lot of fun on Friday afternoons. Let me tell you, right? And then the alcohol store is not that far in Ontario. It's called the LCBO, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. It's a monopoly. The government gets to sell all the alcohol. Don't ask me why, but that's the way it is in this country or in this province. And they get a lot of alcohol. And then once you go back in the fridge to get some food, all you see is just alcohol stacked on every shelf, right? Everything, beers, coolers, hard liquor, you name it. That's just the way it is. Trading floor here, baby. Guys, let's look at Apple. Apple is pumping to the high side, 191.25. Here comes lots of strength, 1 1/3% now. Adara, 591.84 on NVDA. Looks like that 592 level is also incoming. And the future keeps pumping. 17.372. Looks like we may get a 17.4 touch today. Who knows? We were at Where were we this morning, guys? We were at 17.150 in the pre. Yeah, we were low. We were at 17.160 in the pre, and now we're about to touch 17.4. So fantastic day for the longs today. And anybody holding any Mag 7 names in their long-term account, it's been fantastic. Any other trades you guys have at the moment, throw them up in the chat. Huang family saying Apple carrying the future all the way. It does look that way. It looks like it's NVIDIA and Apple. I don't know what NVIDIA's weighting is on the NASDAQ at the moment, actually. Let's find out. So let's go ahead and load up this bad boy. NASDAQ. You can keep it on that. Yeah, NASDAQ. I know. Sometimes it's risky, right? Yeah. NASDAQ weighting. There we go. NASDAQ 100 companies by weight. All right. So it's softy right now with the biggest weight, 8.9, say 9%, 8.8% for AAPL. NVIDIA is carrying about 4.25% of the NASDAQ at the moment. Yeah, 4.3%. Amazon is third. So that's a nice rotation right there. So, wow. Guys, did you guys know Broadcom? Did you see Broadcom? No, but forget about the fact that Broadcom is blasting. It's number 5 on the weighted category on the NQ. I didn't actually know that. Yeah, it's creeped its way up, says the Kenobi, and I gotta agree. Higher than Tesla, higher than Meta is Broadcom. A lot of people have been talking about Broadcom, guys, as a possible NVIDIA substitute with respect to some of these plays, because a lot of people couldn't stomach the NVIDIA valuations. So there was a lot of rotation into Broadcom, and that's made Broadcom the monster that it is, guys. 4.12% of the NQ weighting there. Let's go look at Apple. Apple continues to pump. Nothing higher, nothing better than say than that. Then let's wait maybe until 191.5 or something.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say yeah. I think my throat just decided to die on me a little bit there.
That's all right.
Not a Friday for my throat.
Friday,
yeah. There we go.
So you're good to go.
But yeah, I mean, we got long lozenges and water over here. Thank you so much, Cherie, for allowing me to pour over your water. Yeah, no, I think like Meta trying to break new highs again over here.
Some guy keeps yelling about Nike, and it's up nicely, 0.6.
Nike.
Yeah, New York, yeah.
Yeah, Nike, a really nice. Ooh, I like this.
Yeah, what a
really nice
retracement, eh?
Talk about breaking it out too. We're breaking out of this range here. I think that's really key. I think that's a nice look. Let me look at the daily on Nike. Yeah, this. Ooh, okay. I know I'm making like
when you get excited.
Ooh. But yeah, so I mean, like, look, we didn't quite get to that new bottom. It looks like we're making a slightly higher low on the longer term, but still sort of in that downtrend here. If I'm gonna say we had that downtrend starting when earnings happened. Earnings happened, I believe, the day before we all went on break for Christmas and the market closed. I was laughing at Fabian or Ramin in the chat with the ooh. Yeah, I get very excited by the market. Always an exciting day here in the market and at Trader TV Live, I think. But yeah, I mean, Nike, interesting look on the day. I think for levels, I would say look at if we kind of have a bit of consolidation around that 101.90 area, just shy of 102. 1, 2, 3 days hanging out around that area. On the daily, I do like that 109 level. One of the biggest things I've learned since being at the midday too, looking at daily levels, right? Intraday levels can be really important as well. That's how I like to structure some of my trades because I scalp and I range trade. But those longer term trades Also really important, also really key, and things to keep an eye on. The Salty Bear saying, we're squeezing to infinity, LOL. You could say that about literally any stock, which
Absolutely.
I appreciate.
But Huang,
Right, I thought that was funny too.
That bear is, I'm not reading any of this out. Guys, I want to read a comment by Huang family. Shout out to you, Huang family. It says, NVIDIA software that supports the AI is kind of enjoying a monopoly at the moment. Not easy to develop it. Yes, you are absolutely accurate on that. You don't only get the GPUs when you get the H100. You are getting the software package that helps you string them all together. You're not using one GPU in isolation. You're using them as a team. So there's got to be software to obviously connect all of that. And that is where NVIDIA is actually making a lot of their money with respect to the licensing that you're having to pay for that, with respect to the installation, the tech support that comes with that. So that's what SMCI is trying to bamboozle their way into. They're trying to do that as well for you in parallel with NVIDIA. But NVIDIA, absolutely, when you buy the H100, when you buy the A800 or the A100, you are getting software with that as well. A lot of us are not going to know about that because we're not going to create our own AI data centers like hyperscalers like Meta and Amazon and stuff like that. So a lot of us, you know, we don't have exposure to, we don't really know what's coming with the package, but that's absolutely accurate. Thank you for mentioning that. It's a software that counts. He says it is a software, but also the hardware, especially because you can't make that hardware that easy, especially ask TSMC. They can't keep up with NVIDIA's demand. So fantastic comment. Thank you for that as well, Huang family. I got nothing else to say other than I'm not selling Apple. It continues to pump to the high side. I've got one out left, 191.40, high 39, excuse me, high day right now, up and to the right, uninterrupted 5-minute candle pop. Let's look at what I'm talking about here because there's obviously red candles on the 1. There isn't many on the 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green candles in a row, uninterrupted on the 5-minute look on AAPL. It's absolutely skyrocketing here, Adair, as we've got 50 minutes left on the show before the Obi and the Neil take over.
Yeah, no, I think definitely I can't believe it's already been 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yes,
These markets have made it seem like 2 seconds. We move so quickly. So many things making new like highs on the day and new 52-week highs and new highs of day, cough, cough, NVIDIA. Let's look at Meta. Yeah, Meta making another nice look at that kind of flattish top of that 380, 350. Meta said, no, I'm going to keep going. And I left here at 381.25. I think I took out the whole position. Not going to get any FOMO, though. As hard as, like, that's why I kind of started scalping as well, because I found what I would do is I leave a position too early from fear, and then I get back in because of FOMO, and then I get rinsed. You know what I mean? So I think
I like how you threw the rinse part in there. You said it so casually. It was like, that's funny.
Why not? I mean, it's what happened. No, it's okay.
Like, I got rinsed.
Well, yeah, right. So it's like, and then you just get like it all come back in your face, right? So it's like you'd have profit, you'd lose your profit. So I think the way for me to combat FOMO was just kind of get out of positions early, like with scalping, right? So if I have the intention to leave, then I'm not sad I left early, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does.
I had a little bit of this conversation, I think, with Rock Doc in the chat, you know, saying I don't have too much FOMO about Meta, but look at Meta knocking on the door. Shout out to Sharif, of 384. This is a really nice look here on Meta. Also, that reminded me, too, what I was just saying about my earlier trading styles. Is I think what I appreciate with what you said is, like, earlier with breakouts, if the breakout doesn't work, just leave the trade. You know what I mean? Like, don't stay in a trade, because what I would do is I'd be like, oh, it'll come back. It's not going to come back. Sometimes it's not going to come back.
No, sometimes
especially when I was trying to trade, like, these mega caps, no risk management strategy. And I know, like, you know, I think a lot of you, I don't know, everyone's at different levels of experience here, but I think one big thing that I've learned as someone who's very new and still learning, and I'm trying to, you know, to do better than when I first started, was, like, have a plan going into it. If you don't have a plan, then it will plan to end you.
It doesn't have to be a complicated plan. It can be super simple. Here's what my level is, and if it breaks this, I'm out. I mean, that's really doesn't. Sometimes overthinking can be a real detriment. A real detriment. You know what I mean?
I overthink everything, so I definitely understand. But I think, like, you have to have some kind of plan. That's why I like scalping, because I like to have, like, these planned range scalps, as you kind of picked up on as well, right? Because that's a level. It doesn't have to be a crazy level, but it's a level nonetheless, which I think is important.
Can I just cover the future position? The future is flying, guys. I mean, we got in initially here 17.210, and then our last out was a break of 17.3. Look how much it's run since that. you feel super silly. It looks like we may get a 17.4 touch today. We're only 14 points away from 17.4, guys. I mean, this has been one hell of a day on the futures. Let's do some daily charting right now. Let's bring in the side chart. Let's flip to the daily. And I'm going to remove all these annotations, remove all commentary, and remove all trend lines so we can see this clear. Guys, this is a breakout. Wow. This is a decided breakout through the level. 17.1 1/3 had been a level going back to earlier this year. We weren't able to break through this level. We had multiple days at this 17.1, 17.1 1/3. We have taken that level decisively. Now, when we talked about breakout trades, now we need to look at whether 17.1, 17,000 now acts as a support level. Let it come back. I mean, if you're swinging the future, I know Arun, he would swing some futures trades. He told me about that in his personal account. So I would think, you know, if he was holding, he would be looking possibly for a bounce here off 17,000 at some later date. But what a decisive breakout. And especially if we close near these highs, that will be awfully bullish. Awfully bullish to close near the highs. But the daily break on the NQ contract looks real good today, and it's being supported. I gotta tell you though, the breadth in this move is not as equitably distributed as you may want. So Meta's moving, Apple and Nvidia are moving, and then I want to say, you know, Softy a little bit, Google a little bit, and Microsoft a little bit too, right? Obviously, Tesla has taken the day off, and it has been taking the day off for some time. But the move really has been Apple and Nvidia today. That's the feeling I get anyway, right? Even though the other names are positive, like Meta Meta's up higher than Apple. Meta's up 1.88. Apple's up 1.37. So you know, yeah. Anyway, I would have definitely expected there to be more breadth in this big move up on the future. You figure everything would be participating in this, but maybe not. All right, let's go back to Apple, getting a bit of a pullback here. It looks like the first 5-minute candle is 5-minute red candle is forming on the 5-minute chart here in the last one in a while. We haven't had one since 50 minutes ago, this candle. And it was a candle of indecision a little bit. So we'll have to wait and see what we get, Adara. About 10 minutes left on the show.
It's a really nice looking Apple. Congratulations on that Apple trade.
Thank you, yeah.
That is a fact. I just pulled it up the chart because I haven't looked at Apple in a while. And not the dead one today, nor is it the red one. It's a live wire. I'm taking a chunk out of the market. Really nice look here. Also, I have to shout this out from Zion Lala. Seeing the market on this Friday, y'all should be singing, started from the bottom, now we're here. Happy Friday, great show with lots of knowledge. You know, I'll always sing a little bit of Drake. Also, a fun fact for those who do not know, Drake was on a Canadian show called Degrassi, and in that show, his character did become a rapper near the end because I think they just wanted to humor Drake's rapping. So by the end of the time in Degrassi, his character was also a rapper. So just fun fact if you want to look that up. Not actually a bad rap either. But that is, I enjoyed that. Good Friday times there. Mr. Meme saying, love you, Mother Market. Shout out to Obi for the Mother Market wisdom. That one got dropped while you were away. He was saying Mother Market.
Mother
really
Market,
that.
yeah, I like that. Like Mother Russia.
Right, or like Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like Mother Market's giving us
He's like Mother Nature, not Mother. Although the first thing that came to my mind was Mother Russia, okay?
But yeah, no, I think that's a good look. Yeah, the Skip saying Degrassi was Canadian. Yes, Degrassi was Canadian. What is happening?
I love the Chilean nightmares making me laugh, bro. You don't short the market short you, he was saying. I love it.
That's actually not untrue.
Yeah, no.
Also, I want to look at Google here because a couple people mentioning this, including Nick W. saying it's at a nice spot here. Yeah, I think one thing that I was kind of interested in entering this, but I always get, like, we had a channel for so long, I would probably be more interested in getting back in if we have that EMA dip just for myself. I totally agree, though, Nick Dub. Like, look at this look. We bounced off of you up. And, you know, again, I think another important, so that was pretty funny. Another important aspect, too, of what we were talking about with breakout trades and what Obi was talking about yesterday with different trading styles. And if there's levels that it's kind of having this magnetism towards, keep an eye on that. Google holding VWAP like a glove earlier. We fly back, it holds it so well when it comes back, and then it bounces off into this beautiful upward channel. And then I think that an area I'd be interested in is, can we break that 146.28? Because we had a lot of selling off of that 146.28. This whole move to the upside was proliferated with these failed wicks to the you know what I mean? We had this like failed buying and then sellers kind of overwhelming here on the upside. So I think that's certainly something to keep an eye on. But regardless, yeah, thank you for mentioning this one, Nick W. I think I do agree with what you said. I think this is a good point of entry, especially as we do have such support at the 9 EMA and also at VWAP. I've really been enjoying adding the 9 EMA to my chart, I have to say.
Fantastic. I think it's important for smaller time frames. Guys, everyone wants to talk about SMCI. If you were joining us at the top of the show, Adair and I covered SMCI quite thoroughly. It is an absolute monster. I know. We've been watching this for, going on 6 months now. It started moving when NVIDIA really started rocketing to the high side. It is a company that deals in many different things, Internet of Things, support for data center scaling, technical support, installation, you name it. They've been doing very well. 30 billion, no, hold on. It is a $23 billion market cap right now. Look, we were watching today for that 400 break. We got the 400 break. It was great. There were several retests of that 400 level, okay? I don't want to call this a breakout trade because we were at 335 this morning. So, I mean, I personally wouldn't have thought that we would have had a 400 break today. But because we got that $100 level break, look at what it did when it came back into 400. And this is what Adair and I were stressing today in the lesson on breakouts. Allow it to retest the breakout level. The former area of resistance and now support, that would be 400 on here. Look what it did when it came into 400. All the dips into 400 Adara were bought up. In fact, you did not have a closing print. Once it broke 400, you did not have a closing print lower than 400. The only 400 touches were all wicks, all of them bought up. And then look what you got. You got a $20 move off that 400. So if you missed that 335 low that we had today, you could have got a $20 winner on this bad boy just buying it off the previous area of resistance, now support, 400. So this is a great example of how the former resistance level will act as a level of support once broken, especially if it's not a fake out. Especially if it's not a fake out. If it's a fake out, it's going to drop below 400 quicker than you can say whatever. So right now, obviously, you have to understand this about SMCI, though. The spreads are wild, and it's awfully volatile, okay? Like, let's go to the daily, and I'll show you some volatility here, baby. Like, look at this. Look at these days. Yeah, you have a monster day on August 23rd, and you give back the entire thing the next day. Look at this was obviously earnings. I can tell by volume that it popped up and then popped down. This can be very volatile, okay? There's just no question about that. The SMCI, fantastic trade today. For whoever missed the initial move, if you got the dip off 400, you were rewarded. Good for you. We didn't participate in this name. We were involved in the Fuchs and in Apple, but SMCI is an absolute beast, and we'll see what it does the rest of the year. It had a fantastic 2023, Adara, over 300%. Up over 300% in 2023. Let's see what 2024 brings.
Yeah, that's a super not so micro move for
definitely not
SMCI. I had to. Thank you for the slow clap.
Neil slow clapping.
Appreciate it.
There it is.
Thank you.
There it is.
But yeah, so that kind of interesting look here. Also, I think with regards to retracing, I do want to mention this because I think someone in the chat mentioning NVIDIA breaking down. You could have breakouts and then come back and test key levels, right? That's really important. So just because NVIDIA came back to 589, I'd probably say like I said, I would still be cautious shorting NVIDIA. I say that as someone who shorted NVIDIA earlier this week on the midday. But I digress. Sean was bringing this up yesterday. Like NVIDIA has been really strong as well. And kind of, like this is a really good look on the same on the week, on the day, the last couple weeks, basically this whole January. Yeah, Huang family saying a $1 dip is not a breakdown. I agree. It's kind of what I'm trying to say here as well, right? Like you can retrace back to levels, especially when you've broken a level such as 590. And Opie and I were talking about this last week as well. Full like $5 and $10 kind of levels or denominations are really important, right? So it could be like that 535 we were talking about NVIDIA last week.
Yes,
Crazy that Opie and I were talking about 535 NVIDIA last week. Now we're talking 590 NVIDIA this week. But the point I'm trying to make is that was a conversation we were having, like, especially if those key psychological levels, which can be those $5, $10 areas, we might have some retracement. I would still not say that NVIDIA is breaking down though, right? And I think that kind of goes back to what we're saying. You could have a breakout and then it can kind of calm down. Like the stock might be like partying too hard. It might need a little rest. Then it can go run again.
Speaking of partying, we're about like a few hours away from ending the day, the trading day, and the week. What do you got planned for the weekend? Let's go.
I don't.
We knew you went to TIFF Lightbox 2
I
weeks
did
ago.
go to last weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I might pop by there again. Might see some friends. I have a plan like having a phone call with a friend who lives out of town, so that'll be nice.
Nice.
Yeah, might hang out. Nothing. I'm very introverted, so I never do anything too crazy.
I don't know if you're introverted. I don't think you're an
No
introvert.
one ever assumes that. Well, it's because I talk so much here. And
Well,
then but that's because you have to use your energy in different ways.
Yeah, fair. I don't know. I didn't get the introvert vibe from
That's
you.
fair.
Yeah.
I get that a lot, but I mean, yeah, I can turn it on and off. What
That's
about you?
good.
Any plans for your weekend?
Yes, I am. My buddy is, it's his birthday this weekend, so he's nice enough to do it at his house, so I don't have to go to a club and pretend like I'm having fun.
That's nice.
Yeah, he is. He's going. He's doing a birthday party there at his place, so it's going to be nice. And he's got a house. Lucky duck.
Lucky duck.
Yeah, well, he's a little north though, right?
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
it's easier
he's
to
a
get
little-
houses up
yeah,
there.
well, it's a lot cheaper, right, than getting a house in Toronto. So that's going to be nice. Going to party up a little bit, and then yeah, the Chilean Nightmare says introvert for the win. I like that. Okay. That's okay. I'm not reading that out loud. Let's see what else people are saying here. Anything else? Not much to mention except that we are 7 or 6.5 points away from 17.4 on the future. No, this chart is not malfunctioning. That is the real chart. It is up and to the dang right, and we are almost at 17.4. So LFG, yes, DVD, yes, absolutely. Adara, we have 1 minute left on the show. I'm sending it to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, honored to kick it off on this fabulous week. What a day. It hasn't even felt like the midday the last 2 days,
No,
the way
it
things have
hasn't.
been trading. I feel like I've been trying to change my strategy a little bit, which has been fun to do on this very volatile market day. I hope everybody had as much fun as we did. I don't want to speak for both of us, but I think we had a pretty good time today. Having so much fun, we quite literally were crying on the air. We'll try to sip some water. But yeah, I mean, just heading into the rest of the weekend here, I hope everyone has a fabulous weekend. Thank you so much, as always, to Bears versus Bulls, to everyone here and in the chat. And we're very excited to pass it off in a few seconds over here. We will see you again next week with a whole new plan of lessons, a whole new tricks up our sleeve. But for now, we're going to send it back to the big desk. Baby back, same bad time, same bad channel. Brendan's at the big desk, guys.
Hey guys, yeah, welcome in. 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon here as we head into the weekend.